Yo, 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 yo. How is everyone doing this morning? We are starting off the week. And I'm feeling really good because I got a great sleep. And I hope you are doing well as well. We are starting the show slow because that's how we always start the show. And this time around we got the bees to keep us a little company while we hang out and read the paper. So that suddenly everyone wants to be a Hamilton fan, and then they go try to be a Hamilton fan and they're like, hey, this sucks because it's not good on the screen, you know. The thing about Hamilton too is that you have to listen to the soundtrack kind of before you watch the play. Your kids love it and started learning American history? Nice. I've never watched Hamilton and I'm not really into plays. I saw Come From Away though. Not sure what that is. I'm sure my family has probably seen it though. Canadian musical. Oh, is that the one that's in Newfoundland? Right. Yes, the only reason I know about this is because of crosswords. The person who creates the crosswords that I edit had a clue or something about this, so I had to like do a little bit of research into it. It looks funny, right? It's a comedy. Now they love Canada even more. Come From Away, the play about Gander, Newfoundland after 9/11. Right. Is it a comedy? It's a comedy, but tells about how the town had to deal with all the extra people dropped on them. True. It's not a comedy. Let's see. Come From Away trailer. My understanding is that it was a comedy. Like it's like shouldn't be something like to joke about, but they're Newfoundlanders, you know? Like what are they gonna do? All right, let's take a look. We're about to find out whether it's a comedy or not.
On the northeast tip of North America is a town called Gander.
September 11th, 2001.
Over 200
She's wearing the Rogers television. Do you know it's Canadian when? You know, like sponsored by Rogers.
Over 200 planes getting diverted.
Even with all the hotels in town, we've got no room.
With thousands of passengers arriving at any minute, the town is asking for help with, well, anything you can do.
We barely know where we are.
Okay, this doesn't strike me as a comedy, but it does strike me as like the Canadian version of Hamilton.
Freaking out. I wish I was home.
Thank you for shopping at Walmart. Would you like to come back to my house for a shower? Hello?
See, that's comedy.
It's me.
But we also commemorate what we found.
Okay, sponsored by Apple TV. Price is not exclusively on Rogers. They did say funny, yes, but it might not be like in the genre of comedy. So yeah, that might be you know what? Everybody's right. It does very much strike me as the it's very like Hamilton vibes, obviously in a different period of time and all that, but it strikes, I mean, it wouldn't be surprising really if a lot of plays were influenced by the success of Hamilton. You can tell when somebody's major influence is Lin-Manuel Miranda, for sure. I wonder if they made it very realistic, and for the black people.
Got to try and take it easy till I get back to normal.
Hey, Jay McLean, 79. Hope you're having a wonderful day. We're getting so many new followers this morning, which is great. I wonder if they made it true to life, and the black people who are on the plane, get experience like subtle racism, like micro aggressions. There's a Muslim character who gets shit on by the town. Really? In the play? Cool. Thanks for coming over, Jay McLean. Is it Jessa McLean or is it another Jay? There was microaggressions. Really? Wow. You know what? Good for them. And it wasn't well resolved, but they addressed it. Well, that actually does sound true to life. Just like real microaggressions in real life, they go unresolved. They just get carried around heavily by the people who experience them. I thought you meant King Nico aggression. Those are not microaggressions. Those are macro aggressions. Yeah. Or swatting aggression. Yeah, that is also macro aggression. Good morning, Jay McLean. Thank you so much for joining us. We're getting so many new followers. Because people are, oh goodness. There are some people, there's already a big long tweet thread on why Caryma might be not a bad person. It's like, okay, sorry. Already made my mind up. Did you miss the chat on Roxham Road? No, but that is going to be the first thing we are going to talk about this morning because, yeah, I don't know. It's people. There's, obviously some people still like Caryma. They're willing to make a lot of excuses for her outrageous behavior. So let's get into it. On Friday, I believe, Justin Trudeau and Joe Biden had the chance to address our collective nations, the North American white people of United States and Canada. And they had a lot to say. The most perhaps interesting revelation is that they have decided to close Roxham Road, which is what people call an irregular border crossing, where a lot of migrants, mostly I believe from South America, but also from everywhere around the world, because it's like people going to the US and then deciding, hey, you know what, maybe life would be a little bit better in Canada. So on Friday, Joe Biden and Justin Trudeau announced that they have renegotiated the Safe Third Country Agreement, and that just hours later, migrants at unofficial borders crossing at such as Roxham Road would begin being turned away. So this is actually really sad because this was considered one of the safest border crossings, even though it was quote unquote irregular. And maybe it's the fact that it was irregular as to why it was considered so safe. So, under the previous agreement, both Canada and the US were prevented from turning away asylum seekers in places other than official border entries. So, one of the major problems with this is that people seek out these irregular border crossings for a reason. And by just saying that this is closed now, especially with such short notice, you're essentially just creating more irregular border crossings, potentially much more dangerous border crossings. So I know chat has a lot to say about this. Jay McLean here saying we should have repealed the third safe country agreement years ago. CC saying this was agreed to a year ago and they announced it last week to avoid a rush on the border. Yes, that's just what I was reading as well. Haitians come in large numbers because of French-speaking Quebecois. True. And what else? JT needs the votes in Quebec, and it's simple. The real people will now die crossing in the bush. Yeah, that is unfortunately the case. Good morning, my Martin. Thanks for joining us. It's a dog whistle policy for the right. He's placating those folks. Yes, absolutely. Agreeing with chat a lot here. So, as part of the revised
That means
agreement,
I can lie here and relax while my strength comes back to me.
Hey, thank you so much for subscribing for the third month in a row, my Martin. It is very much appreciated. If you are an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can connect it to your Twitch account and give me money instead of Jeff Bezos. So we really appreciate the folks who do that. Allow me to shamelessly plug myself in the middle of this very important segment. As part of the revised agreement, Canada announced openings for 15,000 legal migrants from the Western Hemisphere over the coming year. So they're trying to do like this both sides thing where we both, hey, don't be sorry. No, I'm just making fun of myself. They're doing this both sides thing where like on one side of the argument, they are the champion of the people of the world, and we're taking all these people who want to migrate to Canada. But I think the real takeaway here is that they're quite selective in who they are choosing to take on as migrants. Here it's saying from the Western Hemisphere. So I don't know what that is referring to specifically. Like what groups of people is that referring to? Does that mean people in the US specifically, or people in South America? But we do know that Canada is taking on a lot of refugees from Ukraine, and maybe not as many refugees from places like Afghanistan or South America. And there is a kind of obvious reason as to why that is, and it might have to do with the color of people's skins. So this is going to mean more dead migrants, said immigration and refugee lawyer Debbie Rashlis. For the past several years, migrants crossing into Canada have chosen Roxham Road because of its relative safety. It is a well-lit, controlled access point that is monitored around the clock by the RCMP. So yeah, that is why people choose this place, is because it feels like a safe place to cross. And unfortunately, by closing it down, they're essentially pushing people to less safe places. And that's kind of the bottom line when it comes to this. When people are desperate and when people are fleeing for their lives to reach safety, they will do desperate things. Ms. Rashlis says the new agreement may cut the number of refugee claimants, but it does so at the expense of human lives. And I'm glad that the Globe and Mail is actually publishing this side of the argument in this case. For those who do make it to Canada safely, experts say the policy may discourage them from applying for refugee status. Right, so it's potentially just like pushing people into being, I suppose, for lack of a better word, like illegal immigrants, as opposed to trying to claim asylum or claim refugee status as well. Under the current system, asylum seekers submit information to the government as part of their application, including biographical details and a health screening. They're entitled in return to a number of supports while awaiting the results of their application. This includes access to social supports, temporary housing, and the ability to apply for a work permit. So yeah, specifying here that, hey, you know what? It's going to be actually much better if you're coming to Canada and able to access these resources. If you are essentially being pushed to the fringes by this system, you might have a much harder time when you choose to migrate to Canada. Chat here saying that something about being a centrist. Yeah, that is definitely what I'm kind of like getting out of like this liberal decision, is that they're appealing to the far right, but they're also appealing to like liberals who will not really be able to see the nuance of a situation like this, and they will say, hey, immigration is a problem, and you know, Canada is taking, I don't know, however many 2.5 million new immigrants over the next 5 years, or whatever that stat is. Geopolitics, economic migrants aren't valid under capitalism. They know people will die as a result of this. Yeah, they do, sadly. That term is so loaded. This is exactly how folks are required to apply for asylum as refugees under UN agreements. Right. We are talking about how people, this is actually how the system works, right? When you're going to apply for asylum, you're allowed to like get into the country, and that's actually how you apply for asylum. You get into the country first, and then you can go and apply for asylum. So yeah, it is kind of crazy. This is just essentially making it harder to follow the proper protocol as laid out by the UN, right? We have immigrants, refugees, and irregular asylum seekers. It's three separate things. Some people see as one for some reason. True. Yes, because you know why? Because people choose to see it all as, you know, brown people trying to get into our majority white country. They see it all as that one same issue, as opposed to a multifaceted issue. Right, yeah, this is something that is happening as well. An Indian family of 4 died trying to cross into the U.S. last year. Their surviving relatives still have questions. And yeah, we will talk a little more about like some case studies in a moment as well. They're documented, they're known. From an administrative perspective, that's good, said Christina Clark-Kazik, a University of Ottawa professor who studies forced migration. Once people realize that making an asylum claim means they're going to be sent back to the US, they're just going to go underground, she said. They're going to be invisible in the system. And yeah, so this is like, it's really kind of silly, right? It's like so many things that we do. It's basically saying that, hey, we know that this is a problem. We know that this exists. We know that people are going to do this and act in this way. No matter what the law says, whether it's illegal or legal, people are going to act in this way. So by making it illegal, you're just ensuring that the people who are acting in this way, which we know they're going to, are not going to tell you about it, and are unfortunately going to have like actually a harder time themselves as well when they're trying to do what they feel is their best option, which for obviously everyone crossing the border at Roxham Road feels like starting a life in Canada. This will make them even more vulnerable to exploitation, she said, to irregular work, to exploitative working conditions, and potentially to trafficking. Right. And what they have said in the UK is that you won't be protected by modern slavery laws. So like that is like one of a scary instance of a country that is very aligned with Canada and the US, basically saying, hey, we can't protect you from human trafficking if you choose to migrate into Canada. And by pushing people to these like outskirts of our immigration program, you are essentially doing that, you know, like it is harder to protect people when they're not documented. That is just like factual. So the details of the policy change were only announced Friday afternoon and put into effect Saturday morning. Obviously, we know that this is coming at the behest of Quebec Premier François Legault, who is, if you don't know, people from Quebec can't be racist. So this is definitely not about that. I have it on good word from some of Quebec's leaders that they're not racist over there. So don't worry about that. Just sleep well tonight. David Coate, an immigration and refugee lawyer in Windsor, Ontario, said he'd already received a number of emails from clients by Friday afternoon from refugee claimants who have been living in temporary shelters and hotels there since crossing into Canada from the US. This has come up so quickly and people haven't had a chance to respond, he said. If people had known beforehand, they could have made a plan. Now, this is like the shocking part, right? Like they literally just announced it and on Friday at midnight or Saturday at 12:01 a.m. this came into effect, and they actually did this on purpose. It says right here, US Canada kept migrant crossing deal a secret to avoid a rush at the border. So this was by design. People who have maybe migrated from like literally all over the world in order to cross from the US into Canada at Roxham Road. They basically surprised them with this and said, oh, by the way, you have till midnight tonight. And there were obviously people very close to finishing this journey. I mean, the journey obviously doesn't end once you just cross into Canada. It's not some magic utopia, but they were very close to getting into that maybe home stretch of this journey, and they're just taken by surprise by this.
Got to try and take it easy till I get back to normal.
Hey Godzilla, thanks for joining us. There's no Parliament say. Yes, that is what is like really surprising by this, right? It's like, well, Justin and Joe just said, go for it. Like, okay, but yeah, like, don't we have to debate this? Don't we have to talk about this? Don't we have to vote on this? And that is actually one thing that I'm unclear about, is how Justin and Joe can just like check, okay, done. And that is something that is not apparent to me from like reading up on this. If there's anyone in chat who understands how this works from a parliamentary standpoint, how does Justin and Joe just decide? Or is it just because Roxham Road is already illegal, therefore they already have jurisdiction to act upon it? Another news reader, that is correct. That is me. We do be reading the news out here. So Canada and the United States waited a year to announce a new deal to turn asylum seekers away from the unofficial border crossings such as Roxham Road between Quebec and New York to avoid a rush of migrants before the new rules could be enforced, the two countries said on Sunday. So this was a year in the making. I guess they had already had this in the works, but they just made this appear like a wild Pokemon on Wednesday and came into effect on like Saturday at 12:01. So it's really funny. I guess the only funny takeaway from this is that there's like Pierre Poilievre being like, I forced Justin Trudeau to take action on this. And then we find out, oh, by the way, this was like a year in the making. So, as much as it's horrible to see how this situation has unfolded, the small silver lining in all of this is watching Pierre Poilievre get cucked once again. So U.S. Ambassador to Canada, David Cohen, says it was not in Canada's interest to create that artificial surge of people trying to enter the country. I don't know why he calls it an artificial surge. I feel like the experience of people seeking migration into Canada, I feel like their concerns are very legitimate and real. I don't know why it would just be an artificial surge. You don't read too much news. Too much news is very centered into one side. Well, yeah, that's why we tried to like interpret it here. On Friday, during President Joe Biden's visit to Canada, he and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced that they had renegotiated the Safe Third Country Agreement, with the revised deal taking effect within hours. Yes, we know this. Behind the scenes, the countries had already signed a deal a year earlier in spring 2022, but the regulations that would put it into effect and allow its enforcement were only completed Wednesday, according to a document published by the US government. Applying for the safe third country agreement uniformly across the border has been a top priority for Mr. Trudeau's government, which has been under increasing pressure from the federal Conservatives and Quebec Premier François Legault to stem the flow of migrants at Roxham Road. And honestly, this is what is kind of like disappointing about all of this. Is like you've basically Justin Trudeau basically is just giving in to conservative conservative pressure from people who lean towards like a nationalist ideology like François Legault and Pierre Poilievre. And I don't if I personally, I mean, like if I was the prime minister, I guess I would do a lot of things differently, but I think pushing back on this would have been better, obviously, better for the people who are migrating. But as someone else said in chat, there's a lot of pressure to court those votes in Quebec. And unfortunately, Quebec is just like the most racist and nationalistic of all the provinces. And I really hate that we allow them to conduct themselves in a way that is like harmful, and in some cases even goes against the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We're just like, just give them the pass because we need their votes. Let them be racist. Let them legislate racism into the law. Just like, no big deal. Artificial, I think it refers to folks knowing there would be only a year left to use these crossings because an unexpected increase during that time frame. Yeah, of course. Like, it just seems like a weird way to phrase it as artificial. Like it I don't know. It's like now there's still going to be people who are crossing illegally. I feel like it's very real. This person's red glasses do remind me of somebody. Last year, almost 40,000 people crossed into Canada at unofficial border points to make an asylum claim, but much more pressing issue for the U.S. is its southern border, where between 100,000 and 200,000 migrants cross at unofficial border points each month. Now, this is just like a vast amount of people. Thinking like 100,000 to 200,000 a month. That is really difficult. And I think what needs to happen here is just we need to figure this out as like, Canada, the US, South American countries. It just like there needs to be a balance instead of just saying like, don't come, like, while people are going to come. So let's make it as legitimate as possible in order for people to come and come safely, and when they arrive there is a life for them here. I don't know, maybe that's just me being naive about how these geopolitical relationships can work, but I just believe that there is a better solution than just like pushing people to essentially be illegal immigrants, quote unquote. Nobody is illegal in my eyes, but under these kind of policies they are. Also need consideration of the decisions by Canada and the US that destabilize countries like Haiti, forces migrants to come, plus our bullshit action on climate. Right. Like, yeah, like saying, hey, no, this is your problem. We've done nothing to contribute to these problems. Our economy requires high levels of immigration. Yeah, exactly. So like, why don't we design it so that we can take people who are in need? We have so much space in Canada, right? And we know even that if we can use our urban space even better than it's already being used. But there's just so much sadly, there's like so much political positioning around it. They would rather in order for us to like save brown people, they would have to build like single detached homes on the green belt is unfortunately how our politicians would spin it, you know. But I just believe in a better solution. People aren't illegal, their actions might be, but they aren't. Yes, that's a great way to put it. We don't need to use the green belt. Yeah, we don't, right? But of course, um there's certain ways that conservative lawmakers are going to interpret this. They're going to either be like racist and xenophobic and saying, no, don't come. No, if you do come, there's no guarantee we'll be able to protect you from trafficking. Or they will say, oh, well, if you do want to come, then we have to like exploit the green belt and build over like First Nations territory and interrupt their sovereignty. Like one way or another, they will use it to justify their agenda, which is really, really, really sad. So the last thing here is that people are still coming. Surprise, surprise, motherfucker. People are still coming to Roxham Road. And this is an article that was released this morning. Undeterred, asylum seekers still hope to make it north as Canada starts turning them away. Yeah, it turns out that just closing one of these irregular entry points is not going to stop anyone from doing their best to achieve their goal, which is to come to Canada. Now, one interesting thing about this is that one of these previous articles said that the majority of the migrants are coming from Mexico. However, this article that goes through a great many cases. Hold on, I've got a little tickle in my nose here. Excuse me. It says that like majority of these migrants are coming from Mexico, which may be true, but I think it kind of does lack the nuance of like how many people are coming from different places, right? And I don't know why. I don't even know really why they would say that, because this article indicates that there are a great many people coming, such as people from, I don't know, they don't even say a Spanish-speaking country. There is more than Mexico, after all. I don't have anywhere to go back to, Mr. Mendoza said in Spanish as he carried a small white suitcase. By noon on Sunday, the Canada Border Services Agency said 6 cases have been processed. 2 claimants have returned to the U.S. in accordance with the Safe Third Country Agreement, and 4 were deemed eligible to make an asylum claim in Canada. So, again, what happens to these 2 claimants who have been returned to the U.S., right? Like, what if people start hearing about this, they will simply not go. They will not cross the border in a way where they're going to have to answer these questions, right? If you're getting turned away, you can only get turned away so many times before you decide, okay, well, I'm just going to go find a regular, quote unquote, border crossing in order to make this journey. There are 4 types of exemptions to the agreement, including for unaccompanied minors and for people who have family members who are Canadian citizens or permanent residents. Hours before the new policy took effect Friday night, asylum seekers from Afghanistan, Turkey, Venezuela, Colombia, Sri Lanka, Chad, Haiti, Botswana, Angola, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and others rushed across into Canada at Roxham Road, 50 kilometers south of Montreal. So yeah, I mean, it does a better job at saying, hey, these are not just people coming from Mexico. You know, like the people are coming from all over the world. And in many ways, you know, especially Afghanistan, I think we are responsible for why people are choosing to migrate to Canada, you know, and it seems a little unfair that the U.S. can spend 20 years in Afghanistan at war, then just exit in a flurry, and then be like, well, sorry, people from Afghanistan, like you're not welcome here. You know, I don't know. It's just like really kind of gross, right? And you know, Turkey, there's the earthquake just now. Venezuela, I think, is destabilized from American imperialism. I don't know. I'm not very good at global politics, but like Haiti also, I think, is destabilized from American and Canadian imperialism, or at least like the funding of like puppet governments and all that. I don't know. I need to. I wish I could watch a video and like learn about all of like geopolitics. I wish I could plug into the matrix and learn really quickly about all of these things, because it's hard to put it into additional context when you don't know. And I will admit my own ignorance on stuff like that. We fully cooed Haiti in '03, says CC, who I do trust. Yeah, I and I've reached out to CC on resources on Haiti, and I have been unable to get to them yet. But yeah, thank you so much. Murtaza Raze arrived at the crossing with his 3 sisters just after 11 p.m. He said they left Afghanistan because life under the Taliban regime was impossible. It's almost like, we did abandon them. We did abandon them to the Taliban. So I think they definitely should have done a better job helping the people who wanted to get out of Afghanistan get out before America decided to pull out. 04, you're bad. Thanks for specifying. The important thing isn't the year. It's that they were cooed by Canada and the US. There's no more life, the 30-year-old said, explaining they could not go out, work, or go to school. Why would I stay there? I live once. Yeah, you get one life. You don't want to live it under Taliban rule. You don't have a right to enter here. It's illegal. This is saying, an RCMP officer barked to a group that arrived a few minutes after midnight. Jeez, it's like, just imagine getting there at like 12:05. Like your cab took a wrong turn, and now your entire life is gonna have to be on a different path. If you cross here, I will have to put you under arrest. Do you understand? The officer asked, and in this case, they crossed anyways. John Nunez and Roque Bastos, both from Colombia, say that in our situation, we prefer to take the risk. We want to cross because we're not well in the US, Mr. Nunez says. And I think that's important to remember, is that just like people are not making this out of just like, you know what? Hey, no, it'd be fun living in Canada instead of the US. People are making these decisions out of like extreme like desperation, So like to now make their situations even harder by closing Roxham Road is just like really sad and disappointing. There were still taxi drivers. To meet asylum seekers at the Mountain Mart this weekend. I guess Mountain Mart is this kind of like famous pickup spot where people can catch a cab and go to Roxham Road, although fewer than in any of the days before. One cabbie said that people were still eager to get to Roxham Road. He said he told them that there was a 50-50 chance they would make it into Canada, adding that he wouldn't feel right about lying to them. The Globe and Mail tried on Sunday to contact Mr. Nunez and Mr. Bastos and to get an update on their situations, but did not hear back from either of them. So we hope that hopefully they were able to cross and are safe wherever they are. And yeah, this is another story that I saw was people were talking about recently. An Indian family of 4 died trying to cross into the US last year. Their surviving relatives still have questions. So I forget the exact details of this. But I guess they were crossing into the US. And that is actually another thing that people specify, is that people cross the other way as well. Helene Gravel, who lives on the Canadian side of Roxham Road near the border, said she does not expect things to change much for now. People will still try to come, she said, noting she has seen people trying to cross from Canada into the US through her land before. I suppose they will now do the same this way. Right? So people do cross the other way as well. It's not just people getting who want to get into Canada. It's people who just who are trying to figure out their own life, like maybe they were able to to migrate to Canada, but they have family in the US, or vice versa. They were able to get to the US and they have family in Canada, and they're just trying to make those connections, make their life better. I really hate borders, and it's just like heartbreaking that it is something that separates people from living the life that they want to live, and being connected with their family, or finding gainful employment, in order to sustain their lives. I just, no country in the world is legal, in my opinion. Every country in the world is built on colonization, genocide, sometimes slavery, and just to say that a certain people are illegal, when the entire country is in many ways illegal, under the eyes of the law, we somehow are able to forgive these countries for committing genocide, like Canada, even when it's ongoing. But for someone who wants to live in this colonial place, we are somehow able to like deem them illegal. And to me, that is just like a really disgusting and like anti-humanistic approach. Borders are colonial. This is true. Want their kids to have a chance at a good future? Yes. I'm fairly certain all asylum seekers are detained immediately after crossing, so what's changed is they'll be booted out after detention. Okay, that sucks. Yeah. Let's just take a quick here. I did forget to get some water, and I should probably do that since I intend on doing a lot of talking this morning. So let me be right back. I feel like I'm already out of coffee as well. Thank you so much, chat, for your input on this. Like I do feel like I can only ever have limited knowledge on a subject, and chat's inputs are really great. So thank you for being here and always adding additional input. I try my best. There's only so much time in any day where I can try to read up and educate myself, especially when things unfold. Like, I wish I already knew more about Haiti, but I don't. I can't just like learn about it in 24 hours while this story is relevant. Maybe over time I will be able to, and I feel like I have become much more educated in the time that I've attempted to do the news every morning, so that is definitely my goal, is that, if maybe after several years of doing this, I will have like a backlog of knowledge because I've been reporting for so long, getting more woke every day. Yes, exactly. All right. If you have resources too, it is always appreciated if you can share them in the Twitch. Or sorry, not the Twitch, the Discord. Anyways, I will be right back. I just another thing I wanted to talk about today. This is something that like I saw Alex Björk, our dear town warden in Peterborough, talking about. I thought I would just like highlight this fairly quickly because I feel like most of us here are aware of how these issues go down. But it is nice to be officially acknowledged by the Toronto Ombudsman. I just love this word too, ombudsman. What a fantastic word. I feel like they should be somebody who sells weed at the dispensary, because they're a budsman. And when you smoke that weed, you feel like, Encampment residents treated unfairly, says Toronto Ombudsman report. And so, yeah, as if we needed like a report on this, you know? It's like, yes, like you could look at this picture and think to yourself, you know what? Maybe they're being treated unfairly by the police. Yeah, I don't think you need like a full-on report to tell us that this is a problem. But alas, the way our silly municipal governments work, when they don't want to address an issue head on, they are just like, hey, you know what we should do? Like, we should tie this up in a report for several years so that we can look at it and set it on fire at a later date. So Toronto's chose speed over people, you don't say, when it cleared 3 large homeless encampments in the summer of 2021. The city's ombudsman has concluded following an investigation into what happened. In a report released Friday, Ombudsman Kwame Addo said City of Toronto officials treated encampment residents with significant unfairness by focusing on removing them and their possessions quickly, rather than addressing their needs. The investigation found that the city didn't engage meaningfully with residents and that it failed to provide social services and mental health supports to help them with the transition. So I guess crazy to me that like this needed a report that we're not providing social services and mental health supports. Or you know what else we're not providing? Places for them to live, affordable housing. So it's like, yeah, you don't say. The city of Peterborough is breaking the law. Yes, they are. The city directed the clearing of encampments at Trinity Bellwoods, Alexandra, and Lamport Stadium parks in June and July 2021. Our investigation found the city displayed insufficient regard for the people it moved out of the parks. It failed to live up to its stated commitments of fairness and human rights-based approach to housing, Mr. Addo said in a statement Friday. Encampments and supporting the people living in them are complex, but the city owes a particularly high duty of fairness to these residents. And yes, of course they do, because this is, after all, a systemic failure. This is a problem of the way our city is designed. It pushes people to live in encampments, and it turns out that instead of just like sicking the police on them, and pushing them even further into marginalized situations, it might be better to actually just help them. Mr. Addo's report contains 31 recommendations, including the city improve its decision making in addressing encampments and that it create a new encampment working group with membership made up of representatives from several city divisions, including housing, social services, and emergency services. The ombudsman also recommended that encampment residents be notified ahead of time of the dates by which they are expected to leave. Right, that would be, if you tell everyone like, hey, we're clearing an encampment on such and such a date, and like here are the services that are available to you. Here are the other places you can go. It's much better than just like, surprise, motherfucker, it's the police. And you're gonna get like your ass beat if you don't leave. I think there's many ways that we could improve how this was going on. And if people choose not to leave, you know what? At least you've gotten all those people who did choose to leave into the resources that you want them to access. Clearing the 3 encampments, including staffing, fencing around the parks, and landscape restoration, cost Toronto $2 million. It's just like mind blown. You know what the people living in those encampments could have used? $2 million. In a statement Friday, the city accepted the ombudsman recommendations and said it is committed to connecting homeless residents with shelter and housing services, but the statement didn't include an apology for the city's actions. So, it takes them a year to determine that they're absolute pieces of human garbage, for not actually helping these people. And then when they get the report, they say, oh, well, that's too bad. They don't even say, oh, sorry about that. Sorry we beat your ass, instead of helping you. The city added that it urgently needs investments from senior levels of government to increase the supply of affordable rental housing with on-site harm reduction and mental health supports. The city cannot force people to come inside and use the many services offered in shelters, but it continues to encourage people to accept offers of shelter and housing options, the statement said. So this is highlighted in red because when I read this, I feel rage because it's fucking frustrating that the city can sit on this, finally get the report, realize that they've caused harm, and are not acting out of a framework of justice and care, and say that, oh, well, you know what we need? More funding from senior levels of government. You know what we need? We need to build houses. We should build houses for well-to-do, wealthy people. Houses that will never be made available or affordable. They say affordable here, but I don't believe them. New housing is very rarely affordable, right? If they get investments from senior levels of government to build housing, that those people living in encampments are going to get priority on those brand new houses, insane. And so damn frustrating that they can wait a year to get this report, finally get it, and then conclude exactly what they already want to conclude, which is, hey, we should probably like develop the green belt, right? Basically. And it's like really, really frustrating. There were 370 encampments in 58 city green spaces in June 2021, according to data from the city. After a significant increase during the COVID-19 pandemic, that figure has since dropped significantly. The city now says there are 75 encampments across 23 sites. So, I mean, it is great that there are less people camping outside, but do you also think that maybe it's like how many of these people have like passed away?
Got to try and take it easy till I get back to normal.
All right, we got doomerism in chat. Okay, thank you, Emma. The high-profile encampment removals in Toronto predate a January 2023 Ontario court ruling involving the regional municipality of Waterloo, in which a judge determined that encampments can't be removed if there is an appropriate indoor shelter space available. So again, yeah, this here is talking about the Ontario ruling with which was in like Kitchener, Waterloo, or whatever, and encampments can't be removed if there isn't appropriate indoor shelter space available. That is obvious. That's what makes these illegal now. So the good news is that police can theoretically no longer do this. However, I feel like that they are so so, this is obviously pretty frustrating. Let me fix something while I see the problem, because that notification should be over, chat. El Nino Southern Oscillation. Where's El Nino? Well, it's kind of like, we definitely care about what you care about, but it's kind of rude when you come into chat and you just start talking about stuff that we're not talking about, like, it's not really nice as a streamer to like be bombarded with like a bunch of irrelevant information. I do care about all of those potential things happening. But you can only really talk about one topic at once. So, can you be nicer in the future? Let's see. There we go. That should do it. Goodbye, chat on screen for a moment. the other news I want to talk about today, and then we are officially kind of like out of our Canadian news crunch. I'll be nice. Okay, thanks, Emma. Um, is Ontario is doing some. Oops. Ontario is doing some sketchy things with our healthcare system. It's okay. I think I just banned them because I realized their name is like it's one of those names that's trying to get you to say something stupid. Yeah. The thing is like if someone just joins and immediately spams a message like that, we should probably just ban them because it's like they're not in good faith, you know? Like or they're just like a spam bot or something. So forget about it. Forget about it. The last bit of like Canadian centric news we have today is Ontario is doing a horrible job. I'm realizing that I didn't read these articles ahead of time, which is what I'm supposed to do. Um, but the takeaway is maybe we should talk about it tomorrow in that case because I should read up on it before I present it. These are all from The Simpsons. I can't take credit. True. Oliver clothes off. But the gist of it here, just reading the headlines, Ontario is evil, and they're ending paid sick days to, which is a program that they did in COVID-19. So they're ending paid sick days and other measures in long-term care homes, and they are also ending extended medical care coverage to uninsured patients, which they again did during the pandemic, but have since decided, hey, let's stop helping people. So yeah, I guess I was supposed to read up on that this morning, but I got I guess I ended up forgetting. So tomorrow, there's always tomorrow. It's okay though, because we've already done quite a bit of news breakdown. How's everyone feeling in chat? Ooh, crossword? Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Thanks for reminding us. Bye, Martin. Weed dealers should be called yay budsman. That is true. That is true. You did the big one on the weekend. It was hard. That's good. Crosswords should be hard. It was actually a really difficult theme. Which is what we like. Yeah, congrats on finishing it. That's legit. These minis are like really easy in comparison. You can even, if you prefer to do them on paper too, you can print if you have a printer. There is this option here to print, and it will make it all nice and stuff if you go through that menu. Let's see. So, number 1, poker payoff.
Got to try and take it easy till I get back to normal.
Hey, what's up, ULE? 2 down. Wow, coming in hot with the first time chatter here is, ooh, you're probably right. Ding dong for 5. Doorbell sound. Not quite. Ding. It can't be ding dong, Rivert, because there are only 5 letters. 1 across is a pot. 4 across is vow, which is a solemn promise. ULE, slow down, slow down. Eco for 8. Go green, perhaps. I don't think it's eco. Because yeah, no, 3 down pirouette is twirl. Extinct relative of an ostrich. Plastic used in piping. I think somebody said PVC. Doorbell sound is a chime. Which means extinct relative of an ostrich. Cannot be an emu. Quebec body of water is, yes, it's a lac. 8 across, go green, perhaps. I forget what it is. I hope I did it. I hope I didn't screw it up. Blank, ... comma, blank. Go green, perhaps? Not quite. Etc. That's right, yeah. Go green, perhaps? Question mark. It's more of a joke, I think. Or extinct relative of an ostrich. There you go, rot. Yeah. Go green. Get it? Is to rot. Good job. You really came in hot with the first time chatter doing the crossword there. Good job. Good job, team. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. What is a moa? How do you even say it? Moa bird. I guess it looks like this. Is this really? Oh, wow. Is this like, when does this take place? It's extinct? It's huge though. Is it really? Is this picture to scale? This is like dinosaur size. Here's a scale. Size comparison between 4 moa species and a human. They're huge. Oh my god. They're quite, these things are terrifying. Why are they extinct? They were driven extinct by the early KFC civilization. True. They do look tasty. Honestly, if I saw these things, I'd be terrified. So apparently, though, they don't really stand upright necessarily. They might lean their head more forward, but it is impressive how tall they could be. Guess here's the evolutionary chain here. Look at this artist rendition. It's like a giant eagle attacking giant other birds. Does it give a date? I'm looking here. Extinction. Speculated that a few have persisted in remote corners of New Zealand until the 18th and 19th centuries, but that view is not widely accepted. Some Maori hunters claim to be in pursuit of the moa as late as the 1770s. It says 1445. Polynesians arrived sometimes before 1300, and all moa genera were soon driven to extinction by hunting and to a lesser extent by habitat reduction due to forest clearance. By 1445, all moa had become extinct, along with Haste's eagle, which had relied on them for food. Okay, so that's why we have this giant eagle attacking these giant birds. Haste eagle is also giant. What is going on? Okay, I hate to have to click this, but why? Why? They will do anything for the clicks. They're like, hey, let's learn about extinct birds. Here's a size comparison that is going to get the most clicks. These are the only size comparisons we should be seeing in like nature documentaries. You know? How big is this compared how big is this in comparison to a woman's underwear model? We'll never know. Why not anti-fur, you know? Because science. All right? It's just crazy. I guess this is some sort of battle game. Oh, this is Spore. Okay, we don't need to watch this. Sorry, getting really sidetracked here. Crosswords will do that, but it's fun to learn new and interesting things when you do the crossword. What else are we talking about today? We are going to watch Joe and Trudeau around 11 o'clock. Oh yeah, this is something that has been kind of like grinding my gears a bit, because I feel like this is a completely made up issue that doesn't actually affect anyone except potentially in some very fringe cases. And that is digital blackface. CNN had come out with this article now in 2023, March 26th, about what is digital blackface and why is it wrong when white people use it. Now, I feel like this issue is completely made up. And I feel at the heart of the issue is people essentially pretending to be a race that they're not. You know, and I do think that is an issue when people are, for example, they are working at a university and they pretend to be a indigenous person and they get grant money as a result of pretending that they are a race that they're not. Or there was a famous politician in the US who was pretending to be black and they weren't. And you know, obviously your identity is can be used in order to gain certain advantages, because sometimes money is allocated through like affirmative action programs and stuff like that. So to be like a white person who is pretending to be another race, that can be really like harmful, because you're taking away from how those programs are meant to fund people who are marginalized and potentially not able to get those same experiences, right? But digital blackface is kind of like an issue that was trending, I don't know, many years ago, and it just kind of like went away. I think people stopped caring about it, which I personally think is good, because I don't think people using gifs of people of other intersectional identities is a problem, and it's certainly not a systemic problem that affects people in any meaningful way. There might be some cases where that is true, but again, I think it is more when people are pretending to be a race that they're not, and not using a certain GIF online, because I don't think they're just using GIFs as a way to express emotion. And I don't think that there is anything wrong with that. So by coming out with an article about this, it's one of those issues to me that actually harms like leftist organizing, because we are trying to, put an end to racism. And by focusing on an issue like this, where there is no meaningful discourse, I don't think, to be had. And in fact, by doing something like this, if you see the quote tweets on the original CNN tweet, it's a bunch of conservatives using memes and gifs of like black people. Obviously they're white conservatives, so they're like, it's one of those things. It's like, you're never going to be able to police people into using only certain gifs. And by trying to call attention to it, again, not a systemic problem, you're actually just encouraging a lot of people to engage in that behavior. So it to me, this strikes me as really counterintuitive as to what we're trying to achieve, right? So what is digital blackface? Digital blackface is a practice where white people co-opt online expressions of black imagery, slang, catchphrases, or culture to convey comic relief or express emotions. These expressions, what one commentator calls racialized reactions, are mainstays in Twitter feeds, TikTok videos, and Instagram reels, and are among the most popular internet memes. I mean, this is kind of like wild. Like, telling people not to use popular internet memes because they're not of the same race or identity is really, like, it's never gonna happen. You can't simultaneously be a popular internet meme and then say, but it's only for a certain group of people. Antifer saying, or it's a teachable moment about racist microaggressions. It doesn't affect white people, so we can't really have an opinion. Well, I'm not a white person, so I mean, I'm gonna have an opinion, and I also think that, hey, you know what? Like, white people are allowed to have an opinion, like, in good faith. Like, personally, I believe that kind of deception is pathological. Oh, you mean yourself? Yeah, but I also think that this idea that like white people shouldn't have an opinion, like we need to kind of move past that. Of course, like, a lot of white people's opinions are going to be really bad, but like when we're talking about like, hey, how to use the internet, we can all have an opinion because we all use the internet, and yeah, when you're deceiving someone, when you use a GIF, you're just saying, hey, this is how I feel. You're not saying, hey, this is a GIF of Tyra Banks, therefore I'm trying to trick everyone into myself being a black woman. Like, if I use a GIF of Tyra Banks and people see me use that GIF, they don't think, oh, my homie Tutaro, he's a black woman, right? It's just like, it's just kind of just like not how the internet works. Yeah, intent and context matter. But at the same time, if I were to apply this type of thinking to my life as a half European, half Japanese person, I would be literally unable to use any GIFs. Like, you know how many mixed Asian famous people there are? And also, like, how many GIFs do they have? Right? I would be basically down to like one GIF or at least one character. And it would be Russell from Up. Like, this would be literally be like the only GIF I'm ever allowed to use. Is this boy from Up. And it's just like I can't, I mean, personally, I just like don't even use GIFs that much. But I think dedicating any time at all to this topic of like you're only allowed to use certain GIFs on the internet is just like it comes off as the leftists are like policing your behavior online. And I just don't think that is like a good look. You know, it's basically the stereotype of what people think people on the left care about. And what we do care about is like, you know, a more equitable society. What I don't care about is what GIFs people choose to use. Another example to me is that I, as a mixed race person, there's no color of the emote. There's no race on the emotes that properly reflects my racial identity. And so I'm limited to choose either the emote that is like actually more brown than I appear, or I'm choosing the emote that is like Simpsons color yellow, because Asian people have been called yellow throughout history. So it's like there's no way for me to accurately represent myself even through like the mainstream emojis that people use. So then to ask for my behavior to be policed in like I'm only allowed to use certain GIFs of like half Japanese people is kind of just like, it's really weird. So to take it to some logical extremes, I think it's like there's no way to properly enforce a rule like this. If you're a white person that is constantly using black people in GIFs, I think that's weird. I think that's weird too, but to make it an issue, I think by bringing attention to it in this way, you're actually just encouraging the right to one, do this even more because they know it pisses off people who care way too much about it, or it's making people who are like, that's kind of silly to police what GIFs people use. It makes them just like makes them think that the left is caring way too much about something that at the end of the day doesn't affect anyone negatively. Right? So if you're still not sure how to define digital blackface, Jackson refers to a guide. She says it includes display of emotion stereotyped as excessive, so happy, sassy, so ghetto, so loud. Our dial is on 10 all the time. Rarely are black characters afforded subtle traits or feelings. But no, this is not true. The whole point of GIFs is that you're using really exaggerated emotions, right? Like all GIFs, all the most popular GIFs are really exaggerated emotions because why would you use like lukewarm emotions when you only get, one reply to that funny Twitter thing or whatever. So many white people choose images of black people when it comes to expressing exaggerated emotions on social media, a burden that black people didn't ask for, she says. I guess I don't understand how it would be burdensome to be represented in the most popular GIFs. We are your sass, your nonchalance, your fury, your delight, your annoyance, your happy dance, your diva, your shade, your yas moments, Jackson writes. The weight of reaction gifing, period, rests on our shoulders. I think this is just like being way too serious, right? Because like if we are okay, here's a gif of a drag queen, right? Do you think that only drag queens should be allowed to use gifs of drag queens? Do you think that trans people should be the only ones allowed to use gifs of trans people? Like like if we start drawing these lines, doesn't that make it really hard? Wouldn't it be better that if, as a mixed race Asian person, that I used like a diversity of gifts of people I stand in solidarity with? So critics say digital blackface is wrong because it's a modern day repackaging of minstrel shows, a racist form of entertainment popular in the 19th century. And I just think that this is way too alarmist. Like, this is not true. You know, if you want to try to make that connection, you're welcome to, but it's really not the same. Like, if you use this picture, if you use this gif of RuPaul, you're just using a gif of RuPaul. You're not dressing up as RuPaul and characterizing their race and identity as something over exaggerated. It's literally them. You're literally just using a picture of them. You know, like, you're not dressing up as them. You're not making a mockery of them. You're actually using them, in most cases I've ever seen, in a very positive way. You're saying, wow, like, this person's emotion is mirroring how I'm feeling right now. That is in a genuine way, not in a way that is trying to make fun of that person, you know? So I don't see this. Completely disagree. I've heard this from many black people. Well, I mean, black people can also be wrong sometimes. I can use Michelle Visage gifs then. I don't know who that is. I just think that having this idea, like anybody should be able to use the gifts that they want. You know? And here's me, you know, here's the super woke take, is not treating all black people the same and saying that, oh, well, if one black person is saying that this is an important issue, that doesn't mean that it is, you know, like, you can listen to a multitude of black people who have different opinions. And I am hard pressed to understand, why this would be like a systemic issue. And I think the super woke take here is that, hey, we should try to move past this discourse because it's not causing people material harm, at least in a way that I am unable to see. So here's someone saying, I've engaged in digital blackface. I've laughed at people of color on the news facing horrifying crime and disaster and loss. I've appropriated black trauma as punchlines and peeled their faces off to put on my own and say what I can't say to make you laugh or just because it went viral. I don't like, again, like, this is taking it so seriously. I've laughed at black people on the internet because sometimes black people are funny on the internet. You know, but I don't think I don't know, this person, I don't really understand how they've appropriated black trauma as punchlines and peeled their face off and put it on their own just by using GIFs. So yeah, it's again, I think this is really reactionary. So I think if you look, you'll find many black people think this. I'm not going on one person's opinion. Yes, I know, but like, you know, I don't trust the majority of like white people's opinion on a lot of things. Just like black people can be wrong, and you can argue with them for substantial reasons. This is what I'm saying. The right to using Trudeau's images and blackface to further their own narrative is completely racist. Well, yeah, absolutely, because that's actually a case of blackface, and blackface is harmful. I just think trying to make blackface something that extends to how people use GIFs is not like a real problem, you know? And sure, even if it's coming from a place of like a trauma response, you know, that is potentially real, but you have to, I think, attempt to resolve the trauma, not to further police people's actions. You know, like I don't think the answer to the trauma faced by African American folks is something that should conclude you to believe in like, oh, you know what we should do? Police even more people's actions. Right? Like I think that is a trap that you have to make sure you don't fall into. I don't believe that Black people should be policed in their actions or how they use gifts, or you know how they act whenever, you know. But I wouldn't be like, oh, you know what would make this more just is that if we just policed everyone. I just don't believe in that line of reasoning. It is a trap that is meant to sow, you know, a lack of solidarity. How does addressing digital blackface work to challenge systems of supremacy like capitalism and racism? Distraction tactic. Exactly. It's a distraction. And that's why it's here on CNN in 2023, is because it does nothing to address systems of capitalism and racism. It's literally just a thing that, you know, some people who are probably like reactionary people on Twitter like decided that they wanted to make an issue about. Honestly, do whatever you want. I'm not comfortable with this conversation. Okay. Wait, who is that? This name sounds familiar. Oh, right. Game of Thrones, the guy who wears many faces. That guy can literally do he might be Black in the first place, so we don't actually know. I'm here for the secret of the bees, but I think we have switched topics by now. Yes, we have. So, I mean, again, this is something that you don't always have to take somebody who's from a marginalized group's opinion at face value, and it can be, you can talk about it. And I've yet to understand how this is contributing to the systemic injustices that we face. I think it's something that actually does the opposite by trying to bring attention to an issue that at the end of the day doesn't matter. You're actually just encouraging people who are racist to use this practice. And not only that, but it makes the left look like a bunch of crybabies because they're trying to police people's behavior. Like quite literally, in this case, they are, whoever takes a strong opinion about this issue, what you're at the end of the day advocating for is policing people's online behavior. And that is a front of the culture war that you will never be able to successfully win. There's just no way. There's no way you're ever going to be able to police people's behavior. So why argue on this front, you know? I think it's important too to like, yes, of course you should like listen to people who come from marginalized groups. But that doesn't mean you have to like throw out your brain, you know? Like, should you listen to Candace Owens because she's from a marginalized group? Should you listen to Caryma Saad because she's from a marginalized group? No, you don't just take people's opinions at a different value based on the color of their skin, you know? Because in a way that is kind of like patronizing and racist as well, in my opinion. We need to believe the lived experience of people who have faced oppression when it comes to their oppression, which is why I uncritically believe everything I don't know who this is has ever said, including the blatantly self-contradictory things. A North Korean defector. Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's not a hill to die on. It's just one little thing in a variety of actions you take personally if you're into anti-racism. But that is the problem. Like, I'm like, sure, for any of us to take this seriously, it's not going to matter. But CNN, this is CNN publishing an article about it, you know? They're actually a North Korean escapee and also a complete right-wing grifter. Right, fuck CNN. And I think that's why we should be skeptical when CNN saying, hey, this is important and something you should care about. Because CNN doesn't fucking care, you know? So that's exactly why we should be skeptical of like, oh, let's dedicate any time at all to talking about digital blackface. And actually, by simply talking about it, we simultaneously like look like idiots because it's not really a systemic issue. We look like woke scolds, and at the same time we're encouraging conservatives to engage in this behavior, which at the end of the day is probably going to just like make the people who care about this issue like more upset, right? So it's a trap. And the only way I'm falling into it here is because I want to call it out for other people to like not fall into this trap. Sandbag CNN. True. If somebody really wants to tell me why digital blackface causes harm, I would be willing to like have that conversation with them, you know, but I'm just completely hard pressed to understand how it causes harm based on like the gifts that you use. Do you think I would just get upset if somebody used a gif of Russell from Up? I'm like, hey, like, you know what? That's our gif. it's insane. You know, like, hey, that's half Japanese people's in North America's gif only. You're not allowed to use it. Okay, we still have not talked about Caryma at all. Because I was trying to just clickbait people into clicking on the stream, and it worked. Yeah, you're gonna call SWAT? Yeah. He's been using digital blackface for days. Please, somebody send the RCMP to his house. I do think there is an element of truth to the digital blackface accusations, more than just using reaction gifs, though. I think it would be more appropriate to use the term for people like this. Yeah, I can't show this on stream. I don't know what this is, and I don't think I want other people to click this, so I have to block this message, which I don't know how. Like, I understand the point you're trying to make, but we probably shouldn't allow people to like click that link. Why? I don't understand how to edit chat. Like when your whole online persona is being hood and you're a white kid from the suburbs. Okay, sure. Just delete that one message. You want to take out links? Not in general. Okay, thank you. I understand what you're trying to say. I don't know how to pronounce your name at all. Lex. I'll just call you Lex. Like, I understand what you're trying to say. You know, we should have like, we shouldn't accidentally like link people to people being like racist. But yeah, if your whole online persona is being hood and you're a white kid from the suburbs, I mean, there's like a diversity of experiences, right? There are those like white people who are actually from the hood. How do you differentiate from them? having like a real lived experience and not, right? So it's like I just think, why even just bother? Why even attempt to police people's behavior online? They're going to ask they're going to act in a certain way. If they're causing harm, like they're using like racial slurs, then yeah, that's a really obvious form of like, hey, this person should be like banned, right? But if they're not breaking TOS essentially, then it's really hard to like take action against them. It's more culture vulture activities. True. As someone who grew up as like a not black person in the suburbs who was like very into hip hop at a young age, like it might just be a phase. It might just be a phase. But I also, hip hop became a legitimate form of self-expression for me, so I wouldn't like necessarily discourage it. And eventually we have to also understand that we live in a globalized world now. And not only that, but because of the internet, everything we post, it makes it to every country and every generation. That's why you have boomers using the word woke, right? Like in previous iterations of the world, the words like that would never transcend generations. Like I saw Ben Shapiro the other day. He said something about like, I don't know, like you hear Ben Shapiro say like oh, and then they thought that was lit. And it's like, normally these subgenres and these rules just become really specific parts of language, right? Like that language of the hood used to never leave the hood. But now it just goes all over the world. And eventually we have to stop crying about, hey, this culture that I created became really popular because of the internet. And now as a result of that popularity, other people are using that culture in a mainstream way. Like in some ways, that is like the goal of culture, is to spread all over the world, right? So crying about it when you're successful, to me, just like doesn't seem like an issue. That is kind of the goal. Hey, DNA rigged. Like, do you think RuPaul is actually upset when somebody uses their GIF? Or are they getting free advertising on the internet, reminding people that drag show is a great show and is a worldwide phenomenon? Do you think RuPaul is upset when people use their image? RuPaul, who is a public figure and is on every TV channel or whatever, like, it's like, I am gonna bet that they're not. There was a popular user on Rap subreddit who posted a selfie of himself, and it turned out he was the whitest kid in the world. But the reason I would call it an example of digital blackface is that prior to the reveal, he was very much trying to portray himself as black. Right. And I that's what I specified when we first started talking about it, is if you're actually trying to portray yourself as a person of a different race or intersectional identity, that is wrong. And when you translate it into the real world, right? Like if you try to like get artist grants that are meant for indigenous people, but you're a white person, that's really shitty and that's really wrong. But when people use GIFs in order to express like, hey, that's really funny, here's a GIF of someone laughing, and then be like, how dare you laugh? How dare you use that GIF of someone who is like not your exact identity? It's like, it's really hard. It's really hard to like explain this to anyone in a way that makes sense, right? Like, so what is the point truly? Also, DNA raid, we haven't even talked about Caryma yet, which is good because it's not important. It's hard to keep up with a lie. pretendians who work in academia. Yeah, exactly. That is the main example. Is like, you know, yeah, that is really harmful. But then, and that's the thing, right? Like when you try to like care about something like that, but then there's also somebody giving this completely watered down version of like, well, someone all like not only does systemic racism exist, but somebody used a GIF of a indigenous person, and that's just as bad, right? Like that, but by like the average person cannot comprehend why one of those things is bad. So makes it sound like almost like everything that you care about, including the really important systemic things, it makes the average person disregard all of those things because they're like, wow, these people are kind of like crazy, you know? Like that's what I'm saying. That's why it's a BS thing that is like meant to distract us away from like actual systemic issues. I hear you. Okay, thank you, Antifa. I know it's hard. I know like there was probably a version of myself when I was younger where I felt as though stuff like that mattered. But as I grew up, I realized like we need to really like focus. Like we need to focus on what's really important. We can't care about all the silly little things, you know? Why bear all the best gifts? Why are all the best gifts of non-white people? Because white people aren't funny. DNA rigged, okay? Except for me, who's part white, and you know, I'm obviously hilarious. That's why I use BIPOC gifts. Well, that is the thing. It's not like when you're choosing gifts, you're just like opening your Twitter, right? You're just like you're going on Twitter, and then like you open your gift, you open your tweet, and you click the gifts button, and it suggests you a whole bunch of shit. It's not like you put in like, okay, you put your blood into the Twitter algorithm, and they're gonna like give you all the gifts that are good for you, right? I'm just like, I only have like 5 seconds here. If I accidentally like do the black woman eye rolling or Drake clapping, like like I'm just choosing from this list of gifts, you know, like it's not racism. So, anyways, except Mean Girls gifts. That is true. Mean Girls are white people. That is true. We need a meme GIF thread in Discord. We do have a GIF, or we do have a meme thread. But yeah. Not true. Oh yeah, that is true. One of the Mean Girls is from Africa. Wow. That's hilarious. Oh, didn't see it, sorry. Oh, no worries. I need to reorganize the Discord so it's more maybe intuitive. It's like on my list of things, channel maintenance things that I need to do. But I get so sucked into the drama. Sorry, not the drama. The content management flow that I don't have time for anything else. But should we talk about I just want to watch the Joe Biden, Justin Trudeau speech. That's like the last thing we have to do today. And it's almost 11 o'clock. It's about an hour anyways. So there are a couple things we probably need, a couple links that we need before we start watching, because we need the one of Pierre Poilievre shaking hands with Biden, because that is so awkward. Pierre Polyev trying to look important and tough, and then getting laughed at by Biden. Is this it? I think so. Why is the sound quality horrible though? F everyone who didn't stand for the women in parliament. Yeah, I don't know how Joe Biden can like single-handedly do so much damage to Okay, here's the CPAC. Okay, yeah, here's a better version of it. Got it. And we also we need the who is it? What's his name? Andrew Scheer. Biden. Well, like clap, right? When he was doing like the slow clap. Let's see if we got a video on this. And yeah, we do need the oh yeah, Mark Garrettson. Okay, and we have the all right, I think we got what we need. Is there anything else? Were there any other major takeaways from at least like the viral moments, you know? We're kind of making this video to like get some views, I'm not going to lie, on YouTube. So, if we have any other viral moments, that'd be great. I just have to go to the washroom again really quick. So it is time. It is time to finally watch the Justin and Joe adventure time of them speaking to Canadian Parliament. Hold on to your boots because it's going to be really, really exciting. And it's about 1 hour long. So we're going to watch it through and through just because we like to watch the raw material, you know? Rawmaterial.com, aka CPAC. Not the American CPAC. This is the Canadian CPAC, the only CPAC that matters. All right, let's hope they got good volume. They got good tech here in the House of Commons. They're probably going to do some weird traditional things. Wear some weird outfits and stuff. So, let's see. My homie Tutaro, raw dog in the news. That is correct. Good morning, Bunny Rabbit. Joe, aka Brandon. Is this as good quality we're gonna get? Okay, we're boosting this all the way up to 720p. I don't know why they don't release these in HD. I want to see every rankle on Brandon's forehead. Joe Biden, he's already he already looks like he's like getting high off the opioids. Like, look at him right here. Oh. Hello. All right, we can make sure we got the subtitles on. We are ready to watch. He just has. Whoa! What's happening with the audio here? Jesus! Come on. Unfortunately, the thing about Joe Biden is that he is like a likable man. You know, like, I obviously hate Joe Biden and everything he stands for, but he's very likable. It's hard to see him just like look like a buffoon and have that childish expression on his face and like think that he's not likable. You'd have an ice cream with Uncle Joe. He does just give off that vibe, right? Get ready for JT to repeat. National security is economic security and climate security. Okay, I'm ready. Quiet. Everyone quiet. Everyone quiet. We're listening. Put your hands in your lap. Cross your legs. We're going to be intent listeners. He's charismatic. He
Mr.
kind of
President,
is.
Dr. Biden, welcome to Canada in the House of Commons.
Welcome. Welcome.
Monsieur le Premier Ministre.
Prime Minister, Speaker Fury,
All right. We got
ladies and gentlemen,
translations.
party leaders, members of Parliament,
Everybody
Your
buckle in,
Excellencies,
okay?
guests.
It's gonna
Allow me
probably
to
start off
welcome you
really
to
boring.
This very special event.
On behalf of my colleagues, we are honored by your visit. As we come together under one roof, we take a moment to celebrate the friendship and the shared values of our countries. We celebrate our people and the history of cooperation between Canada and the United States. A prime example of this cooperation.
No. If I see any silly comments in chat, you will be banned permanently for life. However, if you do make baked silly comments, those are allowed.
Can be seen in my hometown, North Bay, in the riding of Nipissing-Temiskaming, where Canadian and American military personnel work side by side at NORAD to ensure our safety by patrolling the skies of North America.
Like the volume is low. Why?
NORAD.
I'd have ice cream with pretty much anybody. Yeah, exactly. It has nothing to do with who they are. I just like ice cream, all right?
That when Canadians and Americans venture to undertake a mission together, we accomplish great things. But more importantly, our great friendship grows. This visit reminds us all that we must never take our friendship, this cooperation, these shared values for granted. Permettez-moi maintenant.
I would now like to invite the Right Honourable Prime Minister to say a few words.
Justin.
Prime Minister.
God damn. Why they mic the clapping like this?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today,
Thank you.
We welcome to our Parliament the 46th President of the United States of America, President Joseph R. Biden, Jr. Mr. President,
I didn't realize it's Biden Jr.
You are a true friend to Canada, and that matters more than ever in this consequential moment. Make no mistake, these are serious times. When the consequences of a warming planet are intersecting with
Is that really what the R stands for? Robinette?
The aftermath of a global pandemic. When an unjustifiable war in Europe has shocked the conscience of the world,
Joseph,
and exposed the vulnerability
Robinette,
of energy
Brandon.
markets and supply chains. When families are facing the pressures of inflation and struggling with affordability, when citizens around the world feel anxious about their future and their kids' futures.
When are we gonna get a Dark Justin arc for real? Like Trudeau here is just like, allow me to take this historical moment to make the same 5 talking points I repeat every day.
President, as it should be, our two nations stand united in this moment, finding solutions side by side.
That's true. The beard. I liked the beard. Bring back the beard.
We will continue to work together to create jobs and to build economies and societies that are healthier and more sustainable. The economy, the environment, and security are interwoven. And that has never been more clear.
It has never been more clear that everything.
There's already like Americans watching on YouTube in the future who are just like, what the hell? This is so boring.
Is interwoven. Economic policy is climate policy, is security policy.
We are gonna, I think,
need us
turn
to
it up
think
here a little bit.
strategically and act with urgency. And that is exactly what brings us together today. Mr. President, throughout our history, Canada and the United States, as friends and allies, have faced many challenges together. Pandemics, recessions, wars. Here in this House in September 1939, members of Parliament debated going to war. A few years later, Canadian and American soldiers were fighting against fascism shoulder to shoulder.
And now we're still fighting against fascism just at home.
There are battlefields around the world where our soldiers lie in cemeteries, shoulder to shoulder. War has now returned to Europe. As you well know, Mr. President, Canada will continue to stand strong with Ukraine with whatever it takes.
We do know this.
Together, both of us are partners that Ukraine and the world can count on. Since Putin launched his brutal invasion, like you, Canada has provided significant military support, in our case, artillery, ammunition, armor, and tanks. From 2015 to today.
What is the volume getting worse? What is going on? I already turned it up and now it's like it's gone back down. What is going on, CPAC?
Today, with Operation Unifier, the Canadian Armed Forces train the brave members of the Ukrainian military, about 35,000 of them and counting. With partners and allies, we've both used sanctions and punitive economic measures to continue to deplete the Kremlin's war chest. After a terrifying spring, a violent summer and fall, and an exhausting winter, Ukraine still stands.
I'm going to crank the volume and then they're going to clap. And then it's going to be like a wave.
Il y a un an, notre ami.
1 year ago, our friend President Zelensky addressed this chamber to thank us for having supported him from the beginning. Today, Mr. President, together, we reiterate that message for President Zelensky and all Ukrainians. We remain at your side. It is by defending democracy and the rules-based international order that we will ensure the safety and security of Canadians and Americans.
My oncologist, when I was going through cancer, his name was very close, but it was not Zelensky. And I kept referring to him as Dr. Zelensky. I just couldn't get it out of my head. It's kind of embarrassing.
Vladimir Putin has underestimated the resolve of Europe and NATO allies. He has underestimated the strength and the courage of Ukrainians and their will to defend their language, their culture, and their homeland.
Mr. President, today I want to introduce you to Natalia, who I met just last week. Natalia arrived in Canada from Ukraine more than 10 years ago. Give us a wave, Natalia. Yes, thank you.
I'm worried she's gonna like Sig Heil in a moment, but hopefully not.
She arrived in Canada from Ukraine more than 10 years ago. She's safe here with her family, but she still has a lot of loved ones in Ukraine. Every time she hangs up after speaking with a cousin or a friend, she feels a twinge in her heart, wondering if this conversation might be their last. Mr. President, we cannot and will not let Natalia's loved ones down. The Ukrainian people are counting on us. We must stand shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine with as much as it takes, as long as it takes.
They got the shot here. They framed the shot quite perfectly, I think. They got Chrystia Freeland with the Ukraine bracelet, and they got Melanie Jolie, the Minister of, I don't know, International War Crimes. Foreign Affairs,
but I bring
my
up
bad.
Natalia now, not just because of what's happening over in Ukraine as we speak, but also because she's key to what we're building here today and tomorrow.
You know, I met Natalia in Nova Scotia last week. She currently lives near Bridgewater, which is a small town of some 9,000 people. For over 50 years, the Michelin tire plant in Bridgewater has been one of the most high-performing facilities in the world. It is thanks to the strength of the workers there that Michelin has just announced major investments to modernize its facilities in order to respond to the growing demand for electric vehicles.
Just so people know, though, I do stand with the people of Ukraine. I think this is the right move. There are lefties who, are lean more towards supporting Russia, but I know I've made some jokes that are in poor taste, but I feel, because I do support the people of Ukraine, and I think Canada and the US should also support them.
Good, stable jobs like the ones at that plant truly count for Natalia and her family, and they also count for our large and small communities.
Scotia meeting with Natalia and others, I met third-generation tire workers at that Michelin plant.
Wow.
And because of the work that we're doing together,
3 generations of Michelin tires
we're making for the future, that community will have jobs for generations more to come. And that doesn't just impact them.
They'll be working in a factory for generations to come.
In Bridgewater, it means there will continue to be vans delivering food to grocery stores in California and trucks delivering medical supplies to hospitals in Pennsylvania that roll on tires made in Nova Scotia. As it
We get it. You want more immigrants to come to Canada so that they can be part of your working class.
Mr. President, in 1987, Ronald Reagan addressed this House in a final big push towards the first Canada-U.S. Free Trade Agreement. He pointed out that the U.S.
What? Are we doing a shout out to Ronald Reagan right now?
Canadian border was a meeting place rather than a dividing line. More than 30 years later.
Ah, yes, Ronald Reagan, classic fan of brown people coming to North America.
Our border is no longer just the place where we meet each other. It's the place where we will meet the moment.
And that's why we're shutting down Roxham Road. Fuck you, brown people.
It's a place where we will meet the future. A future not only with good jobs, but good, stable careers for generations to come. See, we're also joined today by steel workers from Dofasco in Hamilton. One of them is Neil. Why don't you stand up, Neil?
Jeez, how many people are they gonna parade around? We've got white people from all over the world who are working in low income jobs full time.
You see, Neil's mother worked at Dofasco in the 70s. His father worked in the finishing steel area for 37 years. Now, with the investments we've made to help Dofasco phase out coal-fired steelmaking in favor of electric arc, Neil's kids and grandkids and great-grandkids will be able to choose careers making the clean steel the world needs to build EVs, buildings, and bridges. Clean steel will be the backbone for manufacturing in the future, and workers like Neil, from generations past to generations future, will continue to be at the heart of the economy we're building for the middle class.
Okay, so a big theme of this meeting between Justin Trudeau and Joe Biden coming to Canada is that we are transitioning towards an economy that is no longer dependent on China. That is one of the major takeaways from this that has not been talked about yet, and we're probably going to hear more about it in the days to come.
See, economic policy is climate policy, is security policy.
Oh, really? There you go, CC. That's what you were saying. Are we going to hear this a lot?
With growing competition, including from an increasingly assertive China, there's no doubt why it matters that we turn to each other now to build up a North American market on everything from semiconductors to solar panel batteries. Mr. President, with the Inflation Reduction Act, you're creating the jobs of today and tomorrow for the middle class in America. And this also means more clients for Canadian critical minerals processors, for our clean energy.
So maybe this is revealing as to why we're being so hard on China. Is this just a transition to an economic viability between the US and Canada and basically everyone who is anti-China right now. Because I've honestly been so hard pressed as to think of a reason as to why we are being so hard on China in Canada and the US. This must be the reason, right? We're moving away from their economy, which we are very dependent on. It explains all the media drips. It really does, doesn't it? Because there's been no other explanation so far as to why these leaks are happening.
Innovators, for our integrated auto workers, for our farmers, growers, and producers, and so many others. It's an example of how we can make progress at home and as partners. Pour soutenir les...
To support good jobs in the economy of the future, Canada
because,
has one
like,
of the
I don't know, it is really shocking to me, because if you think about it, right, China and the US, like, they basically have like everything in the world in common. They might as well just be holding hands and running into the sunset. They're both capitalist countries, even though the US loves to point the finger and say that China is like a communist country. They're really not, you know? They are economically a capitalist country. So the fact that they have everything in common and can't get along is just like shocking. And we have to like make up reasons to not get along in order to drive the economy in the US and Canada, I guess. American wants to remain the power country. That is really what is at play here. It has nothing to do with any ideological differences. It really just is like, well, America has to remain the hegemonic power of the world. And before China gets too strong, we need to transition away.
I met on the Atlantic coast last fall who saw their houses being torn to pieces by Hurricane Fiona. When I think of the people of Lytton, BC, whose town burned because of a wildfire during a record-breaking heat wave, I know that responsible...
You know, conservatives will cry and be like, oh, well, we have to oppose China because they're communist. It's like, bro, like, you drank the red Kool-Aid, I know, but it wasn't communist Kool-Aid, it was liberal Kool-Aid.
As leaders, our people's security is our top
It contextualizes anti-China sentiment and pro-Ukraine stuff. China wants negotiations, whether legit or not,
and faster.
are friendly with Russia. Yes. I mean, it is, you know, concerning. Right. I guess that is totally true, though, because, like, I let me be clear, too. Like, I'm pro-Ukraine. I think that is the right side of the issue. I'm also anti-China in many ways, because I think, yes, they have more authoritarian tendencies than the US or Canada. But that doesn't mean that I'm pro-US imperialism or pro-Canadian brand democracy, quote unquote, which is not really a democracy. You know, you read these articles in the morning and they frame China as an authoritarian country. We don't really have a true democracy here in the US or Canada either.
Of consequence is that our world, our way of living, is facing multiple threats at the same time. That's why security policy is climate policy, is
oh my God, you were not wrong, Cece.
economic policy.
Security policy is climate policy, is economic policy. Why do I have the feeling we're going to be hearing about this for the next 10 years, aren't we?
Because climate change, inflation, war, energy shortages, but also foreign interference, misinformation and disinformation, and constant attacks on...
I agree, Purple Mavis. We never should have transitioned to being completely reliant on China in the first place, right? Especially because that hurts like the working class people in Canada and the US, and it makes it so that like we're competing with like really cheap labor overseas, right? So yeah, I agree that it's good not to be reliant on China, but it's really shocking to see like the manufactured consent like happening in real time right in front of our eyes.
On our values and institutions all compound. Democracies like ours, just like democracies around the world, didn't happen by accident and won't continue without effort.
Okay, so what are we doing, Justin, to improve our democracy? Like you said, right? Remember when we had that last election under first past the post? Right? We're gonna do that to improve our democracy, right? To show that strengthening our democracy, the thing that we love to parade around as what makes us such a great country, we're gonna improve all of those democratic systems, right?
On doit être là,
Oh wait, no. We're just gonna be hard on China.
l'un pour l'autre.
We have to stick together. We have to continue to face down authoritarian threats, both at home and abroad. We have to
Okay, what are the threats at home, Justin?
continue to defend what is right. This is not the time to compromise on our values.
A moment to compromise on our values. This is a moment to double down on them.
Double down on them. I'm Justin.
We must continue to show resilience, perseverance, and strength. Resilience, perseverance, and strength. These are words.
At home is the far-right Christo-fascist? I genuinely think that's what he's talking about here.
That perfectly describe two men who are here us.
Yeah, base Trudeau standing up to authoritarian home policies like forcing pipeline projects through unceded territory. Yeah, exactly. He is famously known to do that, right?
With us today, Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor.
Okay, there they are. There are the Michaels, our golden boys of Canada. Okay. This is just like, okay, this is when I literally am going to become a conspiracy theorist, because somehow through the CSIS leaks, through the leaks of whoever is doing this propaganda mission against China, the two Michaels literally launched back into relevance a day or two before this, before Joe Biden coming to Canada and being honored in this way. I just cannot for the life of me accept that as a coincidence.
President, when the plane transporting the two Michaels landed on Canadian soil after more than 1,000 days of arbitrary detention in China, Canadians proved that resilience, perseverance, and strength are more than just lofty ideals. They're commitments that drive our actions and shape our character. Canada.
How can we trust CSIS to know how to investigate terrorism when they can't even tell who leaked this info? That is the thing. Like we definitely need more information about these leaks, because where are they coming from and why are they happening? Nobody knows. The only conclusion I can think of is to strengthen American-Canadian like economic relations.
Got the two Michaels home, and we did it the right way. Not just.
Yes, they are spies. Like I think we can safely say that the two Michaels are spies. That's why they got held as collateral damage. Like they are spies, and they get treated as if they're like normal citizens. But they know what they're getting into,
Just by respecting the rule of law, but by anchoring ourselves to it. When under great pressure to undermine our commitment to our agreements and treaties and to the rule of law, we did not capitulate. We did not abandon our values. We doubled down, and we rallied our allies against.
We doubled down. It's urban sprawl. Oh no.
Arbitrary detention, and through that, with your support and your leadership, Mr. President, the rule of law prevailed and the Michaels came home.
Thank goodness. And then everybody clapped. What is so concerning about this too is that like you have conservatives who were basically willing to go to like World War III over these two white boys.
Together with our allies and partners, Canadians and Americans have to remain a source of inspiration to the rest of the world. But above all, we have to keep up the good work.
Right. The U.S. Everybody around the world loves the U.S., right?
Every day, we have to do what needs to be done to build a better future for people like Neil and Natalia.
The thing is, they tried. I feel like they tried. Also, good morning, Higsby. They tried to like strengthen Chinese-Canadian relationships, and then like they deteriorated for whatever reason. They just like let it deteriorate at the behest of the U.S. Right? Like the Donald Trump was like, "Hey, arrest the Huawei executive, and you can't have Huawei 5G networks anymore." And we're like, okay. And then they took the two Michaels, and then things deteriorated, and like things are worse than they've ever been. And really, we don't really have a choice now, right? Like instead of being in good relationship with China and the U.S., we've kind of been put in a situation where we're like, okay, well, I guess we need to suck on somebody's teat. And since our relationship with China is so bad, it's going to have to be the U.S.
Their kids and grandkids.
And we will meet this moment. Mr. President, in your most recent powerful State of the Union, you encouraged the American people to stay optimistic, hopeful, and forward-looking. Well, this is a vision that Canadians...
Our mining companies in this country saw cheaper resources starting to pour out. Saw cheaper resources starting to pour out of China. Well, now the thing is they've found all the resources in like places like Northern Ontario and stuff, right? So they're like, oh, we can actually transition away.
Canadians share too. So let's keep working hard, and together, let's continue to build a better future for our people. Welcome to Canada, my friend, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States of America, Joe Biden.
What about the non-binary people? You left them out. I can't believe it. I can't believe he marched in the Pride Parade and didn't even include non-binary folks. Oh shit, that's their whatever, the thing they read off? I need to get one of those that just has chat on it.
Good afternoon.
Oh, don't worry. I'm sure Canada and the US starts plenty of shit with like economically unstable countries. In fact, we help them become unstable.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Brandon!
Bonjour, Canada.
Good afternoon, Canada.
Did they really needed to translate that?
I must tell you. I took 4 years.
Bonjour, Canada. Translator, quick. This is your cue.
Years of French in school. First time I attempted to make a speech in French.
That was for the Americans? Maybe.
I was laughed at. So that's as good as I can get right now. But seriously, thank you very, very much. Speaker of the House of Commons, Speaker of the Senate, members of the Parliament, thank you for the very kind welcome for my wife and I. Prime Minister Trudeau, you were my first meeting with a foreign leader just 1 month after my presidency during the hardest days of COVID-19. We had to make a visit virtual, but since then, we've been all over the world taking on some of the toughest issues our nations have faced in a very long time. I want to thank you for your partnership.
Honestly, fair enough. Like, why would you learn French if you didn't have to? Once I got my grade 9 French accreditation or whatever, I was outie too.
And for your personal friendship. I thank you very much. Jill and I are grateful for the hospitality you and Sophie have shown us. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to have the opportunity to uphold a tradition carried out by so many of my predecessors addressing the hallowed halls of the Canadian democracy, although this is a different hall. You've done a hell of a job here. This is really beautiful. It's really very beautiful. This is a custom that speaks to the closeness of our relationship,
God damn it. Why is he so damn likable?
Americans and Canadians are two people, two countries, in my view, sharing one heart. It's a personal connection.
We share one heart. Yes, that one colonizer heart that just keeps feeding us generation after generation.
No two nations on earth are bound by such close ties, friendship, family, commerce, and culture. Our labor unions cross borders. So do our sports leagues. Baseball, basketball, hockey. Listen to this, hockey.
Baseball, basketball, hockey, lacrosse, wrestling, javelin, long jump, gymnastics. Like just like listing off all of the sports. Go sports.
I have to say, I like your teams except the Leafs. I'll tell you why.
Oh my God.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
This is honestly such a good move for him. This is like even the Leafs fans hate the Leafs. Like this is like the unanimous Canadian decision that you could have. It's just like the Leafs suck. It's like, well, they got us there, you know? Like, but it's like the entire house like lost their goddamn minds though.
They beat the Flyers back in January. That's why. And
he literally had to like get fed that line for sure.
if I didn't see that, I married a Philly girl. If I didn't say that, I'd be sleeping alone, fellas. I like you, but not that much.
God damn it. And of course, this was like one of the few moments that went viral.
It can be easy.
All we care about in Canada is hockey. We couldn't care less about like whether China is actually interfering with our elections or not. We just care about hockey.
To take a partnership between Canada and the United States as a given. And but when you stop and think about it, it's really a wonder. 5,552-mile-long border, more than 8,800 kilometers, defined by peaceful commerce, trading relationships that measure more than $2.5 billion a day.
And that's why we're shutting down Roxham Road, to make sure that no brown people are getting across that gigantic border.
Every day, hundreds of thousands of people cross the borders going in north and south to work or just to visit, knowing they'll find a warm welcome on the other side of the border.
Will they? Will they, Joe? That's the whole point, is what you've just done by closing Roxham Road, is that they will no longer find a warm welcome.
Americans love Canadians, and that's not hyperbole. It's a data-driven fact. Earlier this week, the Gallup poll did a new poll showing American opinions on different countries in the world. This is a fact.
Americans don't know things about other countries. Are you kidding?
Canada ranked at the very top. 88% favorable rating among Americans.
88%. This is obviously Nazi virtue signaling.
Up from 87 the year before. I take credit for that one point. I
God damn it, Joe. Why you gotta be so likable?
suspect every politician in this room would do a hell of a lot to get those kind of numbers. But there's a reason for it. The same fundamental aspiration reverberate across both our nations, from the Atlantic to the Pacific, to live in freedom. Not just freedom, but live in freedom with dignity. With dignity.
Bruh, we don't have freedom or dignity here, all right? Like, most people in Canada and the US have to work like one main job and 3 side hustles. You call this dignity?
Relentlessly pursue the possibilities of tomorrow.
Yes, the American dream, working 3 side hustles in addition to your 60-hour-a-week job.
Because of our efforts, the people in this room and a similar room in the United States. President Kennedy said, and when he spoke here in 1961, and I quote, he said, "Ours is the unity of equal and independent."
Yeah, thank goodness. Imagine it was like a Trump-Poilievre meeting. That would be actually the worst timeline.
Independent nations, co-tenants of the same continent, heirs of the same legacy. And
hey, he'll be sharing his Werther's original with you, okay?
Fully sovereign associates in the same historic endeavor to preserve freedom for ourselves and for all who wish it. For all who wish it. Through more than a century of that historic endeavor, Canada and the United States have had each other's backs. In war and in peace, we have been the stronghold of liberty. Safeguard.
Okay, American imperialism does not liberate the world. Let's just like make that clear, right?
For the fundamental freedoms that give us our lives, literally give our lives meaning.
I feel like the refugees trying to cross Roxham Road from Afghanistan would maybe have a different opinion there.
We have gladly stepped into the responsibilities of global leadership because we understand all that is at risk for Canadians and Americans alike when freedom is under attack anywhere in the world. Today, our destinies are intertwined and they're inseparable, not because of the inevitability of geography, but because it's a choice we've made again and again. The United States chooses to link our
Okay, like I hate this. I really hate this juxtaposition between like the US and Canada versus like authoritarian China and Russia, right? Like the US is just as bad as Russia on their imperial conquest, right? It's not enough to have some semblance of a democracy at home. When you go and invade the rest of the world and install like authoritarian dictatorships, you do not fundamentally stand for democratic principles.
Our future with Canada because we know that we'll find no better partner. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. No more reliable ally, no more steady friend. And today I say to you and to all the people of Canada that you will always, always be able to count on the United States of America. I guarantee.
Oh no. Thank goodness. We can all sleep easy tonight knowing that we will forever be able to count on the US.
Together.
They do produce a lot of funny TV shows though. I will give them that, you know. I am entertained. If nothing else, I'm entertained.
Together, we have built a partnership that is an incredible advantage to both our nations. That doesn't mean we never disagree, as any two countries will do from time to time.
Exactly, Higsby.
But when we disagree, we solve our differences in friendship and in goodwill, because we both understand our interests are fundamentally aligned.
Unless we disagree with Chinese Canadians, then, you know, we go on unfounded, baseless hate campaigns against them.
As we stand at this inflection point in history, I had a professor who once explained an inflection point as you're going down the highway at 60 miles an hour and you rapidly turn in one direction 5 degrees and never get back on the same path again. But you're on a different course where the decisions we make in the coming years will determine the course of our world for decades to come. It happens every 5 or 6 generations, but we're at that point. Nothing gives me...
It happens every 5 or 6 generations. And having lived for 5 or 6 generations, I know that we're finally at that point once again.
Greater confidence in the future than knowing Canada and the United States.
Wait, what? Did I just hear like a fart?
Nothing gives me greater confidence in the future than knowing Canada and the United States.
Did you hear that?
Nothing gives me greater confidence in the future than knowing Canada.
That was something. That was like, it sounds like a pig snorting. But how can the mic be picking up anything else other than Joe?
In the United States.
He's old, you know? Like he's got body noises that you've never even heard of.
Stand together still. Today,
a chair sliding? No way. That was a body burp for sure.
I'd like to speak a little bit about the future, if I may. A future that's ours to seize. You know, I get criticized at home sometimes for saying that I used to...
Yeah, old man flatulence, it doesn't even have to come from the anus. It can come from anywhere. Like your body, like all your internal organs are just like moving around constantly, doing all sorts of things.
President Obama used to always kid me because I'd always say to him in our private meetings, "A country's never more optimistic than the president or its leaders." Well, I have never been more optimistic in my life about the prospects. I really mean this from the bottom of my heart. We are so well positioned. The future built around our shared responsibilities, prosperity, security, shared values. First, it's a future built on shared prosperity, where Canada and the United States continue to anchor the most competitive, prosperous, and resilient economic region in the world. That's a fact. That's just a fact.
That's a fact.
Where our supply chains are secure and reliable from end to end. Because
no, they're not. Are you kidding? They broke down almost completely during COVID.
We're creating the value at every step right here in North America. We're mining where critical minerals, to manufacturing, packaging the most advanced semiconductors in the world, to producing electric vehicles and clean energy technology together. A future where we understand that economic success is not in conflict with the rights and dignity of workers or meeting our responsibilities addressing the climate crisis, but rather those things depend on.
Yeah, our supply chains are great until a few angry truckers block a bridge, and then our entire country almost like collapses. Friendly reminder, Joe Biden shut down railway strike months before the East Palestine train wreck and disaster, and then did nothing to help the residents there. Yes, thank you, Cece. As the hype train conductor, you would know all about that, and that is a great context to add to this.
On us doing that. Depend on us doing that. Factually. Since becoming president, I've been laser focused on rebuilding the U.S. economy from the bottom up and the middle out. Not a
bottom up, middle out. That sounds like a sex position. I'm not going to lie.
Whole lot trickled down from the top down to my dad's kitchen table.
Wait. Did he say trickle down? Oh, wait, not a lot. Not a whole lot trickled down from the top down. Wait, what the hell is he talking about? What kind of Kama Sutra shit is he going on about here?
Not a whole lot trickled down from the top down on my dad's kitchen table. And by the way, when the middle class does well,
okay, he's saying trickle down doesn't work, right? I hope so. It's hard to make sense of this, but I'm pretty sure he's like not going off about Reaganomics, right?
They do very well. No one gets hurt.
What about those working hard to join the middle class?
The United States made historic, and to the chagrin.
I'm gonna work this economy bottom up, middle out, on the kitchen table. That's what I heard too, Higsby.
Some of our critics in the press, bipartisan investments in infrastructure, innovation that are already bringing together and delivering concrete benefits to the American people. And we, as we implement these legislative achievements, there are enormous opportunities for Canada and the United States to work even closer together to create good-paying jobs in both our countries.
Good-paying jobs. Where are they? I got everyone I know on speed dial. Not one of them has a good-paying job.
The Inflation Reduction Act, which I admit wasn't bipartisan, but nonetheless, all of a sudden I'm finding we have more adherence, represents the single largest commitment in tackling climate in our history. As a matter of fact, the single largest investment in all of human history. And it's going to spur clean energy.
Yeah, more like tickle down economics, right? Like Hansy Joe is going to tickle the children. Okay, wait. Okay, trigger warning. Sorry. Got weird.
Investments all over the world. And explicitly includes tax credits for electric vehicles assembled in Canada. Recognizing. There's a simple reason.
All right, conservatives clapping. Trickle nor tickle, yes.
Recognizing how interconnected our auto industries are and our workers are. I am the most pro-union president America's ever had.
Oh my God, Joe. You know what's really sad about this? I forgot to pull this up, but Jagmeet Singh basically bought into this rhetoric on Twitter. Let me pull it up here. Union Twitter. Like, this was really disappointing. God damn it, I can't find it now, of course. But basically Jagmeet Singh bought into this and was like, thank you, Joe. Like, we're gonna keep working for unions in Canada and the US. Let me find it.
No. And I speak to a hell of a lot of Canadian union members.
Yeah. Why I brought up East Palestine, greatest union president ever. Yeah, that's pretty close to true, unfortunately. Okay, yeah, you might be right there.
Look, this is a model for future cooperation, with both our nations investing at home to increase the strength of our industrial bases, making sure the products manufactured in
That's so sad.
North America are not only manufactured, but they're the best in the world. You know, we're going to amplify our shared commitment, climate action, while growing our economies. If I could just stop for just a second and say, you know, when I announced for president, I was always known as one of those kind of green Democrats, and Republicans used to be the same in my place. Well, guess what? I didn't announce my
Okay, yeah, here it is. Pleasure to meet you, President of the White House. Your administration has worked to create good union jobs and gone after big corporations to lower costs for workers. In Canada, New Democrats will continue to push for similar investments to help working people. You know, like it just kind of feels like a stab in the back when Jagmeet Singh does stuff like this, you know? Like you're supposed to actually help unions, not just virtue signal that if you're going to do what Joe Biden is doing, then we're absolutely screwed.
my environmental plan, and I was getting beat up.
I've trashed unions the least, basically.
Why is Biden all of a sudden changing? Well, the reason is I brought all the unions together. I brought them into the White House, not a joke, because they all said we're going to lose our jobs. And I pointed out, guess what?
What, Joe? Tell us.
Single solitary initiative required to deal with the environment.
Why is he whispering? I've already turned the volume at 250%.
Creates union jobs. Creates thousands of jobs. Thousands of jobs.
Green New Deal. Let's go.
For example, I met with the IBW and pointed out we're going to build 5,500 electric charging stations.
We're really we're gonna electric car our way into the future. We're doing nothing about capitalism or the environment. Let's face it.
Who builds them? Union workers. So look, we're coordinating the standard for new
My hair's going on when Joe starts whispering into my ears like this.
electric vehicles and charging stations. So Americans and Canadians can continue to easily cross the border without ever hitting a snag in their American or Canadian-built automobiles, zero-emission vehicles. Moreover, we're going to
zero-emission vehicles.
Build batteries and technologies that go into those vehicles together. We've learned the hard way during the pandemic.
Yes, policy ASMR. We need that.
When we rely on just-in-time supply chains, that circle the globe, there are significant vulnerabilities to disruptions and delays. And it drives up costs here at home, both Canada and the United States. But there's a better way. Our nations are blessed
the American
with incredible
way.
natural resources. Canada in particular has large quantities of critical minerals that are essential for our clean energy future, for the world's clean energy future.
Yeah. What if we just exploited the environment to save the environment?
And I believe we have an incredible opportunity to work together so Canada and the United States can source and supply here in North America everything we need for reliable and resilient supply chains. Folks.
Okay, again, the major takeaway from all this is moving away from China. It still just does seem like way too big of a coincidence to me that all of this anti-China leaks came out right before Joe Biden showed up to tell us that don't worry, you can count on America.
To incentivize American and Canadian companies to responsibly mine and process critical minerals needed for electric vehicles and stationary storage batteries. We're also building integrated supply chains for our semiconductors, a critical computer chip
that
I might note was invented in America, and then we lost control of it. We not only control it, we lost producing them. And the power.
And that's why we need to give weapons of mass destruction to Taiwan.
So much of our daily lives. The IBM plant in Bromont, Quebec, is the largest semiconductor packaging and testing facility in North America. Chips made in Vermont in upstate New York are shipped to Bromont to be packaged in electronic components. But now Bromont is expanding with the support of the Canadian government. And there's going to be a lot more work to do. Thanks to the Bipartisan Chips and Science Act I signed into law last year, companies are breaking ground for new semiconductor plants across the United States, representing billions of dollars in new investments in American high-tech manufacturing.
Ooh, billions.
12 billion.
All right, they don't want our water. They've already got our water because they've got us in their back pockets. We're basically the 51st state of America. Let's face it. Say it again. Our country is 3 or 4 mining companies in a trench coat. This is true. Luckily, we have actually kind of done some progress in making sure that it's harder to mine our resources. That's the biggest complaint of these major companies, is that we have too much red tape. They're trying really hard to destroy that red tape. Hey, Joe, are you going to ask for mining rights for the nations whose land you're going to mine? They are going to ask, but they're not going to ask the entire nation. They're just going to ask one guy who they've got on payroll. And if he says yes, then that's enough consultation.
$1 billion from Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company in Arizona. $20 billion in counting for Intel in Ohio. $100 billion in New York, the single largest investment of its kind ever in the world. And chips began to roll off these new production lines in America. A lot of...
Know what we could do instead of selling people cars? Strengthening our public transportation infrastructure.
We're going to be coming to Canada to be packaged. And that's a lot of jobs, good paying jobs. And today I'm also making available...
Think of the French.
Through the defense.
That's actually the only reason I want to do it, is so that we can take away mimes from the French.
Production Act, $50 million to incentivize more U.S. and Canadian companies to invest in packaging semiconductors and printed circuit boards. Look, that brings me to a second pillar of our future. Because of our shared prosperity is deeply connected to our shared security.
Geez, this man does need a glass of water. Quick. Quick, give the Americans our water. He's looking thirsty.
In the past years have proven that Canada and the United States are not insulated from the challenges that impact the rest of the world. The world needs Canada and the United States working together with our partners around the world to rally strong and effective global action. Nowhere is that more...
We should invade them. We should do our #1 export, democracy.
...obvious than our united response to Russia's brutal aggression against Ukraine. We've stood together. We've stood together to defend sovereignty, to defend democracy, to defend freedom for ourselves and all who wish it. As I told President Zelensky, who I visited with in Kyiv last month, people all over the world are with the brave people of Ukraine. And you have to ask yourself, aren't you amazed of the personal bravery they're showing? It's incredible. It's incredible. Folks, I know there's a large Ukrainian diaspora here in Canada, not just the lovely lady we were all introduced to a moment ago, who feel the same
the lovely lady whose name I've already forgotten.
way. Canada and the United States, together with a coalition of 50 nations we've jointly worked to put together, are making sure that Ukraine can defend itself. We're supplying air defense systems, artillery systems, ammunition, armored vehicles, tanks.
Freedom and democracy for all who wish it, unless they cross the border illegally. Yes, exactly.
And so much more. Tens of billions of dollars so far. Together with our...
unless they cross the border, which we're making it even harder to do legally. So they're going to be pushed out into doing it illegally, and then we're going to just deport them back to where they came from.
G7 partners were imposing significant cost on Russia as well, denying Russia critical inputs.
That's fair.
So its war machine. We're independently holding Russia accountable for the war crimes and crimes against humanity that Russia is committing and continues to commit as I speak today.
That's right.
Canada and America alike.
Only America's allowed to commit war crimes on that level, okay? That's their thing.
Have opened their arms to Ukrainian refugees. Our people know well the high price of freedom. Our peace tower, your peace tower, stands testament to the sacrifices of more than 60,000 brave Canadians.
Wow, getting ahead of yourself, Joe. That's our peace tower, okay? It's not your peace tower yet, all right? Give it 50 years, maybe it will be yours.
Who perished in World War I, forever making this nation the champion of liberty. In the words of a Canadian poet, Lieutenant Colonel John McCree, still call to us from Flanders Field, echoing their charge through the ages. And I quote it.
We're doing the patriotic wartime thing.
To you from failing hands, we throw the torch to you to hold it high. So today, let's once more affirm
Butchered it. Absolutely butchered. One of the most famous poems.
that we're going to keep that torch of liberty burning brightly and support the Ukrainian people. We will not waver.
Yeah, but not Haitian and Afghan refugees. I know. But Ukrainian people are white. Yeah, more war. Everybody clapped.
Putin was certain he would have been able to break NATO by now. He was certain of that. But guess what? His lust for land and power.
He's like, the writers dug deep and Googled what are the 5 most popular things in Canada. French, hockey, Remembrance Day, like
trail thus far. Ukrainian people
maple syrup and beavers next. True.
In the face of President Putin's aggression against Ukraine, Canada and the United States are also making clear our commitment to our NATO allies. We'll keep our alliance strong and united. We'll defend every inch of NATO territory. An attack against one is an attack against all.
That is what NATO does stand for. If anyone attacks a NATO country, it will be World War III.
And as we look forward to the 75th anniversary of NATO next year, Canada and the United States share a responsibility and a commitment to make sure NATO can deter any threat, defend against any aggression from any.
Yep, NATO, making sure socialism doesn't get a foothold for 75 years.
Anyone. That's the bedrock of the security of both our nations. Canada and the United States are not only partners in transatlantic security, we are Pacific nations as well. Earlier this month, we held our first U.S.-Canadian Indo-Pacific dialogue to deepen our cooperation in the vital region to promote an Indo-Pacific that is free and open, prosperous and secure. We're also an Arctic nation. We both recognize
the only aliens NATO can protect us from are the quote-unquote illegal aliens, okay?
The critical importance of this region to our collective security and the interest of other nations all of a sudden in the Arctic. We're working in close coordination to steward and protect the northernmost reaches of our world. And we are American nations, deeply invested in ensuring that the Western Hemisphere is peaceful, prosperous, democratic, and secure. And that's
what about the Eastern Hemisphere?
Starts with our commitment to defending our people and our own sovereign territory.
We're making sure the Western Hemisphere is peaceful while doing proxy wars in the East. Thank goodness.
NORAD is the only binational military command in the world. NORAD is the only binational military command in the world.
Wow.
Yet another way.
That's just because we're like America's bitch. Like, it's not nothing to brag about here.
In which our partnership is exceptional. It is an incredible symbol of the faith we have in one another and the trust we place in each other's capabilities. Soon, NORAD will have a new next generation over-the-horizon radars to enhance.
Got to try and take it easy till I get back to normal.
Hello, really unfriendly. Your name, like, immediately kind of raises the alarm bells, but we'll give you a shot.
Warning capacity, upgraded undersea surveillance systems, modernized infrastructure that's necessary to host the most advanced aircraft. And I'm looking forward to continuing to work in close partnership with Canada as we deliver on these needs so that our people can...
Yeah, hovers over ban button. Like, really unfriendly has joined the chat. Hovers over ban button. Waiting for them to say the first thing.
Continue to rest soundly, knowing NORAD is in the watch. Well,
we need NORAD in chat, all right? We're worried about external threats.
We are. We're also coordinating closely to take on the human security challenges throughout the region. We're working in partnership with the people of Haiti, to try to find ways to provide security, humanitarian assistance, and to help strengthen Haiti's stability.
Yes. America, always known to strengthen the stability of crumbling countries.
Tackling the scourge of synthetic drugs that are devastating.
Never responsible for them crumbling, though.
In Canada and American communities, particularly our young people. Fentanyl is a killer.
I'm pretty sure they've committed 100,000 or 100 million. I don't know. They're giving money to the police in Haiti to like try to restore law and order. Good luck with that.
Almost everyone knows someone who has been affected by this, lost a child or lost a friend. Canada and the United States are working closely with our partner Mexico to attack this problem at every stage. From the precursor chemicals shipped from overseas.
Okay, but the problem is what? Mexican people, like, stop attacking the problem. We don't like your idea of what the problem is.
To the powders, to the pills, to the traffickers, moving into all of our countries. And we all know synthetic opioid epidemic has its roots around the globe, not just here. So today we're announcing a commitment to build a new global coalition of like-minded countries led by Canada and the United States to tackle this crisis. This is about public health. It's about public health.
Yes. What if instead of having one wall, we had two walls? One wall wasn't enough.
It's about public health, our economic futures, our national security. We're also working together to address the record levels of migration in the hemisphere. The Los Angeles Declaration on Migration and Protection, which the United States and Canada signed last.
Talking about immigration in terms of public health is fashy as fuck. True, CC. That is not wrong.
June, along with 19 other nations, represents an integrated new approach to the migration challenge, which is real. One that unites humane policies that both secure borders and support people. In the United States, we're expanding legal pathways for migration.
I think like I'm getting sleepy. I feel like Joe's getting sleepy. Chat, I hope you're wide awake. I did have like 2 cups of coffee in addition to my regular full pot of coffee just to try to stay awake through Sleepy Joe here.
To seek safety and on a humanitarian basis while discouraging unlawful migration that feeds exploitation and human trafficking. So today, I applaud China for stepping up. Excuse me, I applaud Canada.
Oh, wait, he just said I applaud China by accident?
While discouraging unlawful migration that feeds exploitation and human trafficking. So today, I applaud China for stepping.
Oh my goodness, we need to edit this so it's like today I applaud China, and then it cuts to everyone clapping in the house.
No, excuse me, I applaud Canada. You can tell what I'm thinking. But
sus.
China, I won't get into that yet. I applaud Canada for stepping up with similar programs, opening new legal pathways for 1,500 migrants to come to Canada from countries in the Western Hemisphere. At the same time,
there was no good alternative.
The United States and Canada will work together to discourage unlawful border crossings and.
Maybe Biden is the leaker. That's right. Biden is the one doing the slow drip out of CSIS.
Fully implement and the updated Safe Third Country Agreement.
Oh my goodness. Get the man some Canadian water. Yeah, unfortunately, the way I view politics is a lesser of two evils game. You know, like even if we were to vote for.
That means I can lie here and relax while my strength comes back to me.
Even if we were to vote for Oi Polloi, who just subscribed for the 3rd month in a row, and they became the new Prime Minister of Canada, it would still be a really difficult time for them, you know? So, you know, Sleepy Joe is the lesser of two evils, just like Jagmeet Singh might be the lesser of several evils, but they would still be the same old Canada, you know?
Finally, as we advance our shared prosperity and security, we must never lose sight of our shared.
Yeah, I know, but like you have 3, but then you only have 2, and then you know it's the lesser of evils. Okay, it doesn't really matter how many there are, but it's constantly like, okay, what are the lesser of two evils here? And then okay, now there's always a second evil, you know, who's trying to like take off the top evil.
Shared values, because our values literally the linchpin holding everything else together. Welcoming refugees and seeking asylum seekers is a part of who Canadians and Americans are. In fact, the United States recently launched a new private sponsorship program for refugees. We call it welcome
Oh,
call,
thank goodness.
which draws on Canadians' decades of leadership in refugee resettlement, where both countries build upon the nation-to-nation relationship with Native Americans and First Nations. We've both been influenced and strengthened by the contributions of generations of immigrants. We believe to our core
I mean, I like to hear him say nation to nation. That's nice. If only it was real, though.
that every single person deserves to live in dignity, safety, and rise as high as their dreams can carry them. We strive to defend human rights, to advance equality and gender equality, to pursue justice, and uphold the rule of law. I want to note the outstanding work Canada has done to build a coalition of nearly 70 countries endorsing the Declaration Against Arbitrary Detention and State-to-State Relations.
Oh, this is all a sham.
It's not only a statement of values. Our citizens are not bargaining chips. They're not diplomatic leverage. They're human beings with lives and families that must be respected.
And that's why we're closing down Roxham Road. Just say it already.
Very glad to see the two Michaels. The two Michaels, Michael Starvo and Michael Covering. They're safely back at their...
Wait, did he get the names right?
Michael Starvo and
Michael Stravo.
Covering.
Michael Kovrin. Wait, what are their real names? It's Kovrig, right? Two Michaels. Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor. Right? Yeah, Dr. Shivago. He butchered their names. Bro, like those were the only two names you had to remember in this whole thing. I mean, it's fair enough. Like just call them the two Michaels. Nobody cares about their individual identity. We need it again.
Michael Starvo.
Michael Stravo.
And Michael Covering.
And Michael Kovrin. Their real names are Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig. But I mean, in Biden's defense, nobody cares.
They're safely back to their families.
They're safely back with their families, the Spavovs and the Chivagos.
After more than 1,000 days.
I love that he's like caring that he cares about this so much after just completely butchering their names.
1,000 days.
And he gets to read them off of a teleprompter as well.
Days of detention. If my mother were here, she'd say, God bless you both. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for having the opportunity to meet you earlier. You know, the incredible diversity that defines each of our nations.
It's incredible diversity. We got one Michael, and we got two Michaels, and they're two different people. An incredible diversity.
Is our strength. And the Prime Minister Trudeau and I know this is a belief that you and I share. We both build a...
That is true, really unfriendly, but the way to get around Twitch ads is to subscribe to the channel using your Amazon Prime Gaming that's connected to your Twitch account, which you can do right now for free.
Administrations that look like America and look like Canada. I'm very proud. I'm very proud that both of us have cabinets that are 50% women.
All right, here we go. Here we go, Joe.
Even if you don't agree, guys, I'd stand up.
Why wouldn't you stand up? So, I mean, like, as many people have pointed out, you know, we love to, like, virtue signal. And it's not, like, yeah, sure, we have 50% women in our cabinet, but the way Justin Trudeau used a lot of the women, and specifically women of color, in his cabinet was a form of tokenism. So sure, we have achieved some sense of, you know, equality in our politics, but you know how that does not reflect is through the policies and the laws that we make. So we have achieved some sense of equality, but it hasn't really helped us, for example, close the wage gap between men and women. So this, like, as much as this was a great moment for Joe Biden, and in so much as that it went viral, you know, it is just virtue signaling. It is just tokenism.
I took the lesson from you, because the bottom line is this: we make it easier for historically underrepresented, underserved communities.
I mean, really unfriendly. I think you're missing the point. Is that it's the men who are not qualified, and they get the jobs anyways. Like so, the fact that there's like a 50-50 split is like a good thing. But you know, it's not like our entire cabinets or whatever are representative of the people in Canada.
Is to dream, to create, to succeed. We build a better future for all our people. So let's continue the work. Where there are no barriers, things look better. Where there are barriers to equal opportunity, we got to tear them down.
Well, you don't think sexism is bad? All right, then probably time for you to go away.
Where inequity stifles potential,
Thank you,
where
Higsby.
we unleash the full power of our people, where injustice holds sway, let's insist on justice being done. Those are the shared values that imbue all of our efforts.
Did he? I don't think he subbed. Did he? I don't think so.
Our very democracy, our vitality, and our vibrancy. You know,
If he did, even better though. We should ban everyone who subs.
it's what seems that drives us all. Some places and some persons are kind of forgetting what the essence of democracy is. We have to reach, so what allows us to reach beyond the horizon. Let me close with this. The year after President Kennedy spoke in Canada's Parliament, he delivered a famous speech at Rice University, issuing a challenge for Americans to go to the moon in a decade's time. You remember what he said? You probably do, because we had to learn it when we were in school. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do other things, not because it's easy, but because they are hard.
Yeah, they got banned for, well, they said like sexism is good. So, I mean, that's the end of that, you know?
Hard. Because that challenge is one
They were one of the conservatives who didn't stand. So they got banned.
that we are willing to accept, one that we're unwilling to postpone.
Dark Brandon
and
banned them
one
from
which
chat.
we will win. That
We
speaks
did give him a fair
tapping into
chance, you know.
something deep
It
in
happens.
America's character.
Trolls are gonna
Something
troll.
powerful, a belief that we can do big things. If you hold
Big
a second,
things.
Just think about it. Turn on the television the last 2 years, whether it's in your country or mine. After 2 years of COVID,
It's true.
people began to wonder, can we still do big things? Big things.
Can we still do big things?
Began to wonder, can we still do big things? Big things.
Come on, there's so many memes in this speech.
Wonder, can we still do big things? Big things.
Big things.
We
Joe Biden like them things, yo.
sure in hell can. That confidence.
Holy shit.
I believe it with every fiber in my being. That confidence can make the most audacious dreams reality. In less than 7 years after Kennedy's speech, the entire
I got dreams of things, y'all.
world watched humanity lift its first footprints on those further shores. It inspired a generation.
Why did he get loud all of a sudden? I've been trying to turn this guy's mic up the whole time, and now he's talking way too loud.
It spurred much of the technology advancement which now enriches our daily lives. Today, our world once more stands at the cusp of breakthroughs and possibilities that have never before even been dreamt of.
That time-released Adderall just kicked in.
And Canada and the United States are leading and will continue to lead the way. In just a few days,
Of course, conservatives have no problem clapping for shit like this.
in just a few days, NASA's going to announce an international team of astronauts who will crew.
What? What did he say?
NASA's going to announce an international team of astronauts who will crew
NASA's going to announce an international team of astronauts.
the Artemis 2 mission, the first human voyage to the moon since Apollo mission ended more than 50 years ago, will consist of 3 Americans and 1 Canadian.
Sounds about right.
We choose to return to the moon
How many Russians?
together. Together we return to the moon.
This is too funny. Out of context, this would be hilarious. Together we'll return to the moon.
Moon together. We choose to return to the moon together.
We choose to return to the moon together.
Together we'll return to the moon.
Together we'll return to the moon.
And from there, we look forward to Mars and to the limitless possibilities that lie beyond. And here on Earth,
this literally sounds unhinged. Like, out of context, this is unhinged. And the limitless possibilities that lie beyond here on Earth.
Our children who watch that flight are going to learn the names of those new pioneers. They'll be the ones who carry us into the future we hope to build. The Artemis
Space, the final frontier of American imperialism.
Generation. Ladies and gentlemen, we're living in an age of possibilities. Xi Jinping asked me in the Tibetan Plateau, could I define America? And I could have said the same thing if he asked about Canada. I said, yes, one word. And I mean it, one word.
We're going to use electric cars to get to the moon, y'all. Don't worry.
Possibilities. Nothing is beyond our capacity. We can do anything. We have to never forget. We must never doubt our capacity.
What happened? I swear to you that he has time release Adderall. Like, this whole thing, like, up to like 45 minutes was sleepy as fuck. And then he just started going in. He started going in. We're going to the moon.
Canada and the United States can do big things. We stand together.
We got big things.
Do them together. Rise together.
Look, everybody got, like, they're allowed to just get out of their seat and, like, they're getting around Joe Biden like it's like 8 miles about to go down. And he's about to rip into the opposing team like freestyle.
We're going to write the future together. I promise you. God bless you all and may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
God, yes. God protect the, you know, the United Troops of Canada. Jesus, Joe, he caught fire at the end. We're going to the moon, y'all. We are going to the moon. Our next class field trip, we're getting in the bus. And Miss Frizzle, a.k.a. Dr. Jill Biden, is going to be taking us to the moon together, all right? We are taking it all the way to the motherfucking moon. What do our troops need protecting from right now? COVID. True. That is true. I'm pretty sure they have mandatory vaccination though. So I think they're all right. This was likely emotional for anyone that had to deal with Trump in the past. This is true, I guess. I feel like a lot of people get emotional about this stuff. We call those people liberals. Other than that, other than each other, true. That, yes, balloons. Protect the troops from Chinese balloons, weather balloons. And they have sick days, yes. Unlike the vast majority of us who don't have protection from any of these things, the U.S. military and the Canadian military have like supreme advantages when it comes to accessing our resources. So, anyways, I thought it was, you know, at the end of the day, it was an entertaining speech. A lot of viral moments. I feel like there's like 10 things there that I could cut up into like YouTube stories or whatever it's called, YouTube shorts. And it's going to be good. Vote Jugmeat. He will make every other day a sick day. I see what you did there. I see what you did there, Lex. All right. So some great moments that got taken away from this, in addition to Jugmeat kind of being a stooge for like the American unions or lack thereof, we also had, where did it go? I thought I got all of these ready. We had what's his face, slow clapping, Andrew Scheer. I forget why, but apparently a lot of the people are comparing this to the Nancy Pelosi clap. Why does he clap like this? Like he clearly loves Joe Biden, you know, like a conservative Canadian is like a liberal American, you know, they're completely politically aligned. And then to like just give this slow clap. I thought I had a even better version of this. Where's the what's his face version? Oh yeah, the Mark Garrettson version I think is good. You think Andrew would have had a tad more enthusiasm for a fellow American citizen? Mark Garrettson, like, obviously the most annoying liberal on all of Twitter, but this was, let's face it, this was a roast. America. And we also had, what's his face, Pierre Polyev, got in on some of this fervor. Where did it go? I thought I queued all of these up. I probably just put them in like different tabs. Oh, here we go. And yeah, we had the weird exchange also from Pierre Polyev and Joe Biden. Very strange.
Mr. President Pierre Polyev.
Mr. President Pierre Polyev.
Leader of His Majesty's loyal opposition.
Leader of His Majesty's loyal opposition.
Loyal opposition. Absolutely. We believe
loyal opposition.
That opposition is an act of loyalty in our system.
What a nerd.
We do too. We do too, unfortunately.
What a freaking nerd. Okay, so I don't know. This is like embarrassingly, but you know, conservatives will love this. They'll just like, I mean, it's like PP, you know, daddy can do no wrong when it comes to PP. So if it was Justin Trudeau saying that exact same shit, conservatives would have lost their goddamn mind. But since it's Pierre Polyev, you know, it's like they're like riding his dick. Like, what you never want is to be in a dick riding contest when it's a Pierre Polyev conservative on the opposing team. That is a battle that you cannot lose. Sorry, wait, a battle you cannot win. So yeah, that is pretty much it for today, y'all. I thought it was a pretty great stream. This is what happens when I actually plan out what we're going to talk about for like 4 hours. Instead of just trying to wing it every day. I will be back tomorrow morning though. And you know, I thought you can ride all hard and wet. What? That is an inappropriate innuendo for real. I guess, all right, you're gonna have to be our champion then. If we go up against some dick riding Pierre Polyev conservatives, you're gonna have to be the champion for our side. Thank you so much, everyone. I had a really great time today. This is what happens when I sleep and I plan out stream ahead of time. If you can help me plan out stream, there's a couple things we need for every stream, I think. One of those things is like the most important Canadian news articles of the day. The other thing is like a couple shit stories that will get views on YouTube, like the whole talking about you know, digital blackface, pop culture, like culture war content like that is needs to be a part of every stream. Unfortunately, we need to talk about that in order for people to come and like listen to boring Canadian news. And also, if like Caryma could do something stupid every day, and then I can just put it in the title of what we're going to talk about on stream and then never talk about it, that will do amazing things for our numbers. So like, let's just hope that Caryma does something horrible again, so that we can not talk about it tomorrow, because you know, that's clearly, I put that in the VOD and then everyone came out for that. So, you know, and then, I mean, what can I say? What can I say that is like adds something positive to that discourse? Caryma is, you know, she's not a good person. That's all there really is to say. So thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow at the same bat time, same bat channel. You know, 8 o'clock, we just chill out and listen to some lo-fi. And you know, 9 o'clock, we get the talking. So thank you to all the new subscribers we got today. So only a few of which were trolls, many of which were like great people, and I hope they come back again. We'll see you next time on My Homie Tutaro. If you're here and you're new and you would like to help out the channel, you can also subscribe on YouTube, where we almost have 300 subscribers, and we're growing like a little bit every day. YouTube is really the way that you can start making money as a content creator. But first, you need to get 1,000 subscribers, and I'm about 25% of the way there to monetizing YouTube, which is like actually really fantastic. And I'm impressed that I've made it this far. You know, I'm happy about that. So there's nobody really streaming like political Canadian stuff right now, as far as I know. But there is a really great streamer by the name of Shayla, who is trying to go for Twitch partner. They are a productivity stream, a co-working stream. And I really like them because they're really nice. And after I finish streaming, I tend to have a bit of struggle being productive for the day. So it's really fun. You can just do !task and then put in whatever task you want to complete. So for me, it's going to be like edit my YouTube videos and publish them. And then when you're done, you know, they will you can put in !done, and then you will have someone to like kind of hold you accountable, you know? So I really like these kinds of streams. They really help me out when I'm struggling to be productive. So if anyone wants to join us to raid Shayla, they're really nice. They're also Canadian, and they're on break right now, which means we'll get a chance to say hi before they go back to just listening to lo-fi and being productive. So thank you so much. I really love everyone in chat. One of our most successful streams in terms of getting people out. I guess I need to put more clickbait stuff in the title from now on. All right, so peace out. Thanks for watching, my homie. To Taro.